Greetings and welcome to the second episode of the Nerdom and Other Nonsense anime podcast. If you thought the first episode was amazing, wait till you hear this one. We finally disagree about something and debate it at the end of this episode. Be sure to subscribe to us on Twitter to find the latest information on this podcast. Today we will be giving our impressions and opinions on most of the third and fourth episodes of this winter's season anime. I'm Leo, and interviews with monster girls is overrated, but we'll get to that later. Also, tonight with me, I have Bcom.
Hey, I'm so happy that we're still writing the intros for each other.
That was weird. I blanked out for a minute there.
Oh, don't worry. I think we'll get into that conversation later.
All right.
I don't think you said anything you didn't mean.
I wouldn't know. I don't remember.
So basically the idea behind this podcast is that we're going to be reviewing anime as they air over the course of the season. So there will be spoilers for the most recent episodes of those shows.
In a bi-weekly manner, so usually 2 episodes a show.
Yeah, so this week we have a lot of episode 3s and episode 4s and a few episode 5s for the anime that are on like Tuesdays or Wednesdays, basically. So we're going to start off with Sundays. And the shows that we're still watching on Sundays start off with Nyanko Days.
Yay.
Which I have in my notes. It's still fucking cute. Go watch it.
And I put, definitely worth 2 minutes of your time. That's all you have to invest in this show. And it's great.
Yeah. It's still like the episodes, there's no need to get into the synopsis because they're 2 minutes long. And it's basically just, there's still cute cat girls. They're still doing cute things. A new cat girl has been introduced at this point, but we haven't really got to meet her yet.
Yeah, she's the popular girl in school.
Yeah, well, no, it's the popular girl's cat. So it's like a little cute cat that she carries around in a basket.
Yeah, but they haven't done anything with it. Like the one scene shows up, she's just like looking out from the basket, and that's it.
That was enough, Leo. That was all I needed.
That's all you needed?
Oh, man. So I'm very excited when they all get to have a little play date together. Also, the other thing I've noted is that the orange-haired cat has like different T-shirts that say different things on them, like hairball and like little piece of shit. I don't know.
No, I think one of them said like squiggly or something like that.
Yeah, squiggly. Yeah, that was the one. I don't know if that's like a direct translation. Squiggly. I don't know if that makes sense, but it was cute regardless. And,
yeah, it's actually something I look forward to every episode so I can catch it and see what it says this time now.
So yeah, I'm still watching that. Idol Jihen or Idol Incidents, I've basically dropped off of this show because it just wasn't doing anything interesting. The idol performances were not very good. It's like the whole idea of the show that it was going to get into like political stuff and have some political satire in there, but it hasn't done any of that. It's just done like second-rate idol show shenanigans. So at this point, I don't see any reason why I should continue to watch it.
Oh man, with as much politics as I see in the news now, I don't think I can handle anymore. The situation here is just insane.
Yeah, I mean, anime is just like a slight reprieve from the constant, like, badgering on Twitter, on Facebook, everywhere you go. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I like to check a couple of news sites, even though I know that, like, CNN take everything they say with a grain of salt. Mm-hmm. But, like, even, like, their front page, it's like the first 15 articles is just all politics, and it's overwhelming, and it's usually stupid. I did see one that made me laugh. Arizona governor, Senate guy. What's his name?
John McCain?
Yeah, maybe him.
Nope.
But he was... Oh, you know what? I'll just open up CNN so I don't want to get this wrong. But he's basically the troll to Donald Trump, and it made me freaking laugh.
I think there was a guy who, said that he was not going to follow Donald Trump. Basically said that he was not going to... He saw no reason to follow him because, like, Donald Trump has done nothing to make him worth following. So some guy from Arizona said that a couple days ago. I forget who it was, though.
Yeah.
Might have been a congressional representative.
And it seems it's already been rotated out, so...
Also, we may cut this entire section because I know people don't want us to talk about politics.
I didn't mean to bring it up. I'm sorry. I'm tired of it. But we can talk about something that everybody likes, and that's Little Witch Academia.
Which continues to save anime from week to week.
And I'm really excited before we talk about episode 3 and 4, I'm excited for episode 5 because the last 2 episodes have focused on one character individually. So that leaves Susie left, and I know she's your favorite and she's my favorite. So I can't wait for her episode next week, hopefully.
Yeah, I remember I was posting on Reddit, and so in episode 4, there's like Susie is going around like scavenging mushrooms because like that's the only thing Susie really cares about. And I was just like, yeah, I can't wait for season 2, Little Witch Psychedelia, where Susie just starts using all those mushrooms.
Yeah, I remember that scene. They're supposed to be trying to help find the author, but she's like not helping at all. She's just picking mushrooms for her spell potions and whatnot.
So episode 3 was all about flying brooms, and Akko really sucks at flying brooms. She's terrible. She can't even kick herself off the ground.
I was going to say she can't even do any ounce of flying. Come on.
Yeah. So it's pretty adorable. She goes through some like stages of depression as she's not able to fly the broom. And eventually they go to a magical item shop in town, and they stumble across this like broom that's locked up in a wardrobe closet.
And I want to bring up a point about that. What is up with magical worlds just having all powerful and especially dangerous items lying around?
Well, it was
this
locked
is a common
up.
thing. I mean,
Yeah,
I specifically think of Harry Potter.
Yeah, like the Sorcerer's Stone is just like
there's all kinds of things. They're just kind of laying around. Anybody can walk by and pick it up. But on that point, I'd like to say if you want to get people into anime and they really like Harry Potter, I think this is a great one to point them to.
Yeah, when this is all out on Netflix eventually, it's going to be a huge hit. You can tell. Yeah, Netflix made a smart choice by picking this up, even if it pisses us anime fans off because
they made a smart choice picking up. They made a dumb choice by not letting each episode come out one at a time.
Yeah, it's annoying.
But it may be better if trying to get new people into it because Netflix is known for binging.
Oh yeah. And
so it may be the smart choice in the long run, but it's just annoyance to anime people, I guess.
So basically, the girls are at the store. They see this broom, which is like this legendary broom that like a witch version of Amelia Earhart had flown across the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. She was like the first woman to fly across the ocean on a broom. So that's pretty cool.
And it doesn't require magic.
Yeah, it doesn't require magic. It supplies its own magic. And so Akko's like, oh my god, I need this. But the shop owner's like, you can't have it. It's too dangerous. But luckily, Amanda is at the shop too. And Amanda is like a conniving little girl, and she is like a super pro at riding brooms. So she sees this as a challenge that like she'll be the one to tame this broom. So basically, this whole episode builds up to a broom race for a trophy that's given out each year for like the fastest broom relay team.
And a special prize from one of the teachers that you never find out what it is.
Oh yeah, it was going to be a prize from like the like potion making teacher, which is why Susie actually gets interested in the race.
Yeah.
Because Susie was like, I don't give a crap. But then like she finds out about the prize, and she's like, oh, it could be something I could use in one of my poisons.
Now she's all in, and she's doing nothing but sabotaging everybody else in this race.
Oh yeah,
and like
it's so good.
And I guess there's no rules. The only rule is all's fair in witchcraft and broom riding.
Seems to be, yeah.
Like the teachers watch it all, and they're like, eh. Oh, I guess you could do whatever you want.
Yeah, so she like starts off by binding all of the brooms at the first marker post like to the ground except for Lottie's. So Lottie gets this huge head start, and nobody else can even race for like 10 minutes. So Lottie goes first, and then Susie's like second, and she does fine. And she, like in the second leg, like one of the other broom teams has gotten a start, but it's like the second leg is like that chubby girl, and so Susie has set up these like traps along the way of just like cakes and candies like hanging from tree branches.
They were donuts on strings, and they lead off course, so she just follows them off course as she's chomping through them.
So that was pretty mean, but it worked. So Susie gets to Akko like way ahead of like anybody else even having started the race. And Akko at this point is just like, I've given up on actually trying to fly a broom. So they use a spell that turns her broom into basically like a pogo stick, and she just starts pogoing off into the distance. And Diana's like, are you serious right now?
But of course, this is where everything goes wrong. And, oh man, what was her name? She was in the back of the shop.
Amanda,
yeah. She stolen the broom. You kind of know that already. And well, guess what? It breaks loose. and knocks Akko off hers, and then she ends up kind of wrestling it and attaching herself to it, and it just goes through like it's just like one scene after the other of showing her like flying past an airline and then all of these other kinds of places, and she fights it forever. She at one point actually, because there's chains on it, chains herself to this broom.
Well, she puts herself in a cannon. Well, first of all, Diana saves her because like she's on the broom initially, and like she's like flying around like the entire earth basically because she's like going so fast. And then Diana like spots her and is able to save her and puts her safely back down on the ground, because Diana, even though she's like in this group of mean friends, she's actually a pretty good person, and it's kind of what I like about her. But then Akko's like, I'm not going to give up. So she pulls out like a cannon, lights it, puts herself in it, fires herself out of the cannon at the runaway broom.
Like for a minute, I was like, where'd she get a cannon? But I remember it was from the training montage earlier.
Oh, you're right. I didn't even think about that.
Yep.
And then, yeah, she like throws a chain around the broom and herself just chains herself onto the broom and is like, I'm going to ride you, bitch, basically is what she says. And like almost beats Diana to the finish line, but Diana like barely scrapes it out. And like the broom like flies away at the end, basically. It
sprouts wings, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like the rest of the shackles fall away and it sprouts wings and flies away all beautifully.
Yeah, it's a pretty great moment. The animation during that whole cannon shooting scene is just so ridiculously cool. I was just like nerding out watching that. I watched that scene like 15 times. It's so good.
Wow. Yeah, so Akko definitely got most of that episode to herself. It was about her. Episode 4 gives it all to Latte.
Latte. I like that you said latte, because I think her name is like Loti or Lode or Lotte, but I've been calling her Latte a lot too. I kind of want to see a scene of her drinking like a cafe latte before the season's over. But yeah, Loti is a Twilight fan or a Nightfall fan, basically, in this universe. Like a super ridiculously devoted fan. And not only that, like she ships together like Edward and Jacob from Twilight, who are in this universe different names, but you get that that's what she's talking about. So she's like a total Fujoshi. Like there's a scene where she's like a little girl and she's like, when I realized that Edward and Jacob were just doing things so that they could be close to each other, I couldn't get that out of my mind. And I was like, oh god. They
say so many ridiculous things that's in this series. What, the series been going for like 300 years or something, and it's only been one author, but you find out it's not one author. And then they keep talking about all the things that are in this. They list everything, I think.
Yeah, there's like one thing is like, oh, do you remember that scene where he grabbed a nuke with his hands like on the moon or something? I was like, what? What is this?
And then they go, and then the scene after that, and they're talking about suddenly like vampires out of nowhere. It was also like, I'd have to go back and like write down because it's also absurd what they're talking about.
But basically, they barely get to go to this event in town where the writer, like the ghost writer, the mysterious writer Annabelle of the Nightfall series, is having an event, like the first time she'll ever be seen in person, and it turns into like a trivia competition, which Lotte like easily wins because she's just like an insane like person. Oh,
there's a before that, there's something I thought that was really funny, and it actually goes to portray later on, is she's on the internet and people are trash talking it, so there's still trolls in this world.
Oh yeah, internet trolls that she sees through her like and little magical ball. And it kind of sets up for later on when it does,
things go on. But before we get to that, they're hanging around before they go. They're like, it's almost a festival, and they do something that I liked really well. Is like two of the other witches are there, and like they're portraying it as this all looks so weird and absurd. Like if somebody went to like a anime convention, they'd be like, this is crazy. I just like how they portrayed it, because they gave it the outsider's view also. Because I mean, it did look actually absolutely crazy to me, because we don't know anything about Nightfall, but
yep. But yeah, it felt authentic. It felt like something you could see happening in like the real world too. So anyway, Annabelle after Lottie wins the like competition, the trivia competition, brings her up on stage, and she gives her this pen which the previous ghostwriter of Nightfall had given to her, and it turns out that Nightfall hasn't been written by one person, it's been written by like a whole string of people over the years that it's been coming out. And Annabelle is just like the latest one who like was chosen by this like magical pen to continue writing the series.
And she made the one big mistake. She read the comments section.
Yeah. And she's really upset because the internet trolls say that her writing is bad. And it's funny because like, so Lottie just takes Akko and Suse and they decide like they need to track her down because like Lottie doesn't want to be like the star writer of Nightfall. Like she loves reading it, but like she says like, I want to be the type of person who's behind the scenes cheering the talented people on. Like I don't need to be the star in the spotlight. And that's like really true to her character. So they go track down Annabelle. Susie doesn't help at all. She's just looking for mushrooms the whole time. Mm-hmm. But Akko and Lottie track her down, and they basically, they have this conversation about like, but don't you remember when you wrote in chapter blah about how like somebody caught a nuke with his hands? And
yeah, just one absurd thing after the other. Yeah, and she gets her like all excited and hyped about it, and she's like, you know what? I'm still going to be the writer.
Yeah, exactly. So Annabelle decides that she's going to continue writing it, and it's adorable, and it's clear that Annabelle's actually like a really bad writer, but like Lottie convinces her that she's pretty good. Like I think those internet trolls actually had something legitimate to gripe about, but it's nice that it turns out that everything's going to be okay in the end. So, but yeah, like what we said before, I'm hoping the Susie centric episode is coming up because she's my favorite.
And it would be great because it'd be nice just all three get their own little episode and then go back to being the little group that they are.
Uh-huh. So let's move on to Mondays.
Yay.
Do you want to start off by talking about Gabriel Dropout?
Yes, I do.
All right.
I was originally not watching this one, if you've listened to the first episode, but I picked it up. And I picked it up because I was listening to another anime podcast, and they were kind of just dumping all over it, but their points and evidence wasn't convincing me at all. It was actually making me want to go watch it.
That happens a lot, actually.
So, yeah, that brings me a question. Are they not doing a good job, or am I just overanalyzing stuff? I don't know.
It could just be a difference in like what you want out of a show, you know?
Yeah, I guess so. But so I went and watched it as the first 3 episodes, watched them all back to back. I finished it, and I was sitting there, and I was like, man, I really liked it. I liked the show, but I didn't have much evidence on my side to like counteract theirs. And I couldn't figure out why. I'm like, why did I like this so much? Why did I like this so much? And after a little bit of thinking, I suddenly remembered I take pleasure in the pain of others.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
and so I'm going to get across this point. There's a certain way to watch this show. And before you go, oh, you're just a sadist and whatnot. No, everybody has a little sadist in them. Let me throw out some examples. Bcom, have you ever watched Jackass?
Yes, I've watched Jackass, but not for a long time, actually.
Did you ever laugh at any joke?
Of course.
Okay,
yes.
That's your sadist side coming out a little bit. Everybody's got a little one. I don't mean you have to be complete sadist. You got a little one. I mean, there's other things like a cat video on the internet about a cat jumping out of the bushes and knocking the toddler over. I think most people have seen that one.
Or that cat where it jumps from like the couch to the counter, but completely like falls in the middle, and it's set to that song "Sail." Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
yes. See,
I can identify with this.
Okay. Yeah. Everybody takes a little bit. It's just at the pain of others, it's pleasure to you. So it's pretty fine. So everybody has a little bit in you. That's how you want to watch this show. Now, when you watch that show like that, this show, you sit there. It's not maybe necessarily funny, but you sit there with a big ass grin on your face. You can't help it.
Yeah, okay. Satania gets a lot of bullying in this show.
I'm going to get to that. So, yeah, since we didn't really say too much about it first, so I'm going to just go ahead and introduce the 4 main characters. The first one's Gabrielle. She's a top-of-the-class angel at her school. She's valedictorian.
So they definitely do call her Gabrielle in the anime, like they call her like Gabu, but like it's definitely Gabriel. Like she's based off like Gabriel, like the archangel or whatever.
Yeah, well, the other girl's Raphael, so.
Yeah, I know, it's weird. They don't call her. They call her like Raphael or something. I don't know. It's weird pronunciation.
But yeah, after I guess they all graduate, all the little angel girls have to go to Earth and do good deeds. Well, she starts off amazingly. She's doing all kinds of good deeds. She's keeping her apartment nice and clean, cooking her dinner and whatnot, taking care of herself. Well, then late one night, for whatever reason, there's suddenly an MMO on her computer. I'm going to assume that she had a web browser up and it was an ad and she got sucked into it.
It's like adware. It's just like a total adware.
But there's some guy
MMO.
on there. He's like, help me. And she's an angel. She's like, I got to help him. So she heals him. And somebody else is like, he's like being attacked by a monster. So she goes over there and heals him. Well, eventually she runs out of magic. And then in some of the most evil things in the world, microtransactions. It pops up with an item that she can buy to keep healing people. So she's torn between, she's like, I can't buy this. I don't have them. It's not in my a lot for money this week or whatnot. She couldn't afford it, so she ends up buying it anyways. They skip to like the next day or like 2 days later. I don't remember. And she's totally unkempt. She's been corrupted by microtransactions, not gaming, microtransactions. Put that point out there.
Yeah, she's Homoto Amaru-chan now.
Yeah,
she's
so
like a
now
gremlin person.
Yeah, a lot of people keep comparing her to her, but I don't think they're the same.
It's not a one-to-one comparison, but it's
Umaru-chan's a very whiny one and wants everybody to do things for her. Gabrielle's not like that. She at one point gets a job so she can pay for her microtransactions.
Yeah, Umaru also always keeps up like the facade when she's out. Like, so she always acts like an angel when she's out, and like, yeah, Gabrielle is like totally done acting like an angel. Like,
she's given up completely. She doesn't care anymore. She's totally no going back. So she's fallen from top of the class. She's total nothing. But then there's the second one, Raphael, she just has this very caring motherly aura around her, but it's a complete front. She's a super sadist.
Oh my god, yeah.
So like both the angels are just these horrible human beings at this point. They're basically the devils of the show, but there are two other devils in the show. One of them is, how do they say it?
Oh, it's Veen. I would pronounce it Veena, or like Veen.
It's spelled weird.
Yeah, Vigene. Yeah.
I'm just going to say Veneta. That's easiest.
Okay.
She's probably the biggest failure of the demon, where Gabrielle is the complete worst angel ever. Venette is the complete opposite. She accidentally constantly keeps helping people.
Yeah, she's like a total angel.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. And then like Gabrielle points out a couple points. She's just like, oh my god, why do I keep doing these things? She can't stop herself. She's doing it before she can do. But those are just the setups. To my favorite character, Satania, who is the verbal, mental, and physical punching bag of this show, and I love her for it. They do nothing but hound on her from the very beginning.
Well, she's a total doofus.
Yeah, she's a doofus, and it's hilarious. And even if they're not doing something to her, she's getting her own predicaments. I can think of two of them really quickly off the top of my head. One, she's in the bathroom, and she has no toilet paper. It's just, you're just like, ha ha to you. But then there's another one where she thinks she has an evil scheme, and the teacher's like, turn in your homework. She stands up, she's like, I didn't do my homework, and you can't do anything about it, and this is so evil of me. And then hard cut to her standing in the hallway holding 2 buckets of water, crying.
Crying, yeah. That was pretty funny, yeah.
Yeah, but then the other 2 angels are doing nothing but messing with her, especially Raphael really messes with her mostly in a mental manner, just like all right, I'll give the examples as we do the episode. So let's go ahead and just start with episode 3, and I'll give the examples as we go through.
Yeah, so this is the one where Gabrielle goes to get a job at a local coffee shop and just totally takes advantage of the owner, who's like this nice old man who just wants to make a great cup of coffee, and like nobody goes to his shop. He has like no customers, so he hires this little girl, Gabrielle, and she comes in and she like basically doesn't want to work. And it's pretty funny, but it was kind of mean how she took advantage of him. I was kind of annoyed at her a little bit. This whole episode actually reminded me a lot of Gochi Usa, like the little show about the cute little girls who all work at a cafe. It was very similar to that, except that Gabrielle was like just being a bitch the whole time.
She's just there to get the money. She doesn't care. So yeah, this is a perfect example of one of them. So Satania shows up And so she makes some big ruckus about having to visit a coffee shop. So she walks in, and Gabrielle's standing there, and they just stare at each other for a quick second. And then Gabrielle just walks forward, puts one hand over her mouth, and just uppercuts her straight into the stomach and throws her out of the shop.
And the owner's like horrified.
The owner's like, what did you really just do that to that person? But then she eventually, Satanya gets back up. She's taken worse abuse than that. And she gets in, she sits down, and there's like this whole little spiel about freaking Gabrielle just taking her order for the love of God, and the poor owner's just trapped in the middle of this whole thing. And it's just a really funny little scene. That one should be saved. But the really funny stuff is episode 4, which surprised me because it's a beach episode.
Yay!
But it takes that and uses it to its fullest extent. They start pulling jokes immediately about the trip. I mean, they're talking about, do we go on a beach trip? Like Vinette wants to go, and she's inviting Gabrielle and Raphael. And Satania is just a couple desks away, but she can kind of hear them, and she thinks she's being left out.
Mm-hmm. Oh God, this scene is so like evil. It's so good. I actually really loved this scene.
Yeah, because they go full on mental attack on her.
Yeah, like the three girls, like Raphael, Vin, and Gabrielle, realize that like Satania is being left out. Like Raphael realizes first, and Vin's like, "Oh, you should go invite her." Like Satania's like saying things, like she can hear them.
Satania, makes it completely obvious. She's like, "Oh, I have nothing to do this summer.
If only somebody would invite me to somewhere."
She opens her little calendar book, and the only thing in there is closing ceremony, and she just closes it like she never looked at it.
It's like no plans.
Yeah, that was the part where she's like, because I'm always so busy, I have all these things to do. There's nothing on there. She just closes it. So yeah, the other three girls have a little conversation. Vinette's also always, being nice. She's like, I was just planning on asking her later. Yeah. She's like, maybe I should go tell her. But then Raphael's like, no, I'll go tell her. So she just all nicely walks over there, and what she said, she's like, her and Gabrielle do two things, but they're very similar.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what exactly Raphael says, but she's basically like, hi, we're going on a beach trip, I just wanted to let you know. And then she leaves.
Walks away.
She just walks away without inviting her. And Satania's just sitting there like horrified.
She's devastated. She's done. She's totally done. So Gabrielle's like, hey, let me go fix this. She gets up and she goes over there, and then she says something like, hey, I think we're just gonna go pick out swimsuits. Just wanted you to know. Like she gets her hopes up real quick, because she's like, hey, about that beach trip. And it pulls Satania out of her like depression or mental anguish. She's like, oh, really? Because she's like, oh, this is my invite. No. And she just goes even deeper. Vinette's like, oh my God, you guys.
Oh God, it was so mean.
Yeah, and they haven't gotten to the beach yet. So I'm fine with this. I think they took a beach episode and they made the whole thing about it. And that's only the beginning of the jokes. I mean, when they get to the beach, they starts to get the physical abuse, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, everybody's seen this one where they put the watermelon on the beach and they blindfold them and they got the stick.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they bury Satania with only her head sticking out. And Vinette's convinced. She's like, oh, Satania, she's sacrificing herself so everybody can have a good time on this trip. And the whole time, Satania's in the ground like, get her away. Because Gabrielle has a stick. And she's like, you have to be blindfolded. And she's like, okay. And Raphael puts the blindfold on her, and she turns around, and the blindfold's too high, and she can see out the bottom. She's like, she gets Stousie! And then she's just screaming away, and then Gabrielle just wallops her on the forehead. Done. And then one of the other ones I thought was super funny was like Gabrielle fell asleep, and they built that body around her, and they gave her like what'd they do? They just gave her just a weird looking body or something. So then Satania was next, and they did it to her, and they gave her like a really sexy body, and she's sitting there, and she's like, haha. And that dog from one of the earlier episodes comes walking up, stops right next to her head, and lifts his leg, and Satanya just loses her shit. She's like, "Oh God, don't do it, no!" She like almost like passes herself out, and then but this dog has joined forces with Raphael. He doesn't pee on her, but Gabrielle shoots her with a water gun. She thought she was getting peed on for a minute. And then once that's done, Raphael's like, "Good job, dog. Good job."
I also like just Gabrielle at the beach. Like, she gets there, she like puts up an umbrella, pulls out her laptop, and starts playing like League of Legends. Basically,
yeah. She's like, "I'm not moving from here."
They're like, "No, come play with us." She's like, "No, I'm not interested." She's like, "The internet's better than the beach."
Yeah, but my point is, just let your sadistic side come forward, and just watch the show with a big grin on your face. And then when it's all said and done, your sadistic side has been satisfied. So now you don't have to exert that willpower to be a better person, because, like I just said, it's satisfied, and you can convert that willpower to something else.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like this show it's pretty cookie cutter, like, in my opinion. Like, it's not doing anything like crazy ambitious, but it's a fairly well executed, like,
yeah, it's
cute
not
girls
new.
doing cute things, you know.
Yeah, it's there's nothing really new about it. It's not doing too many things clever, but I think you pretty much nailed it when you said how well they're just executing it. Yeah.
And like, if you don't like, you know, bullying, like some people I know like don't like the bullying thing for comedy, like, so that could turn some people off. But if you let that go, like, it's pretty fun little show. So I wouldn't like tell people not to watch it for any reason.
Yeah, and it's not like the jokes ever go too far or anything.
Yeah.
And pretty much a lot of them would be like funny jokes that I could see me and my friends pulling on each other or something like that, just messing with each other.
Basically, yeah.
But Satanya is just such a dumbhead. She it's just way too easy.
Yep. All right, so let's move on to Tuesday. And the one that we're watching there, or actually we have a couple we're still watching, but ACCA 13Ku Kansatsuka is still going on.
I think you're watching everything on Tuesday.
Yeah, pretty much. So we had episodes 2, 3, and 4 of this show, and I would go through the synopsis of each episode, but like, I just want to say in general, like, not a lot is happening still in this show. It's moving along at kind of a snail's pace. I realize it's like setting up characters and it's world building, and it's giving us a better idea of like where the different players in this like political coup d'etat are gonna like eventually, you know, come from, and like their motivations. But in the end, it's like half of the episodes are about like Jean like chain smoking and eating like cake and bread. And then the other half of the episodes are just like kind of subdued political machinations and like bureaucracy. Episode 4 kind of got into things where John goes to Suitsu to do his latest inspection there. And he runs into like the underground effort, who are like rebels who are staging a coup. And he kind of like helps them a little bit. He basically gets captured by them, but then he's like, "Hey, I'll give you information you need." So like he's a very mysterious character, because we don't know if Jean just like doesn't care about stuff, or if he is part of like a coup and like the audience doesn't really know yet, and we're gonna eventually find out that he's like really been planning this coup all along, and we've just been following along with his character without knowing. But basically, like, he helps these characters out a little bit, and then like the main character who he had come to inspect, like one of the ACCA people, at the end of the episode, like, he basically makes his report in such a way that that character will be able to stay in his home country and like continue doing what he wants to do, rather than like basically like exposing him to the authorities. So I don't know, it's interesting. Jean is like sort of playing both sides, and in the meantime, we've met a couple new characters, one of whom is this gorgeous woman, what's her name? Let's see. Named General Mauve, who she goes out to dinner with Jean in episode 3 and kind of is trying to understand where he's coming from. She's been told to stop spying by like the council of like people, like the council of dudes. This council like kind of reminds me of like the council of like in Revolutionary Girl Utena, like the super beautiful like men on this council who are deciding like the future of the country. They've told her to stop spying and reporting back on internal affairs related to the coup. So she talks to John and asks him to start reporting back to her secretly on like who is part of this coup and who is not. So anyway, there's a whole bunch of things going on, but I have no idea still where this show is really going and like how fast it's going to get there. So it's a little bit frustrating to watch as it slowly builds up the plot. But it could explode into something bigger at any moment. So I'm hoping that happens soon. Hopefully with like episode 5 or 6. So
yeah, but being, what is it? One third
through
of the show,
way through, yeah.
And that's all you're getting. That's rough.
It's slow, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I know some people are liking it, but I think a lot of people have also dropped off of it and decided to just binge it at the end when everything is, you can just go through all at once and not have to worry about like nothing happening that week. That might be the better way to watch this. So,
can you tell me about the wonderful show Handshakers? I've yet begun to hate watch it, but it's on my list. I'm going to because the crazy things people keep telling me about this show, I just have to check out for myself.
So here's the updates on Handshakers. It still looks fucking terrible. It's still just a piece of shit in every way. Lore updates. The two main characters can now not hold hands for 15 minutes at a time without the little girl dying. So that's progress. I guess since they've been together with each other and built a bond together, they can now not have to like bathe each other every night and like go to the bathroom with each other. Like they can take 15 minutes apart and like she can just recharge when they hold hands again later. There's a new pairing of people that have been introduced. One of them is Chizuru, who is basically the loli from Black Bullet. She's like exact same character design. She is paired with a man who looks older than her, but apparently she's actually older than him, even though she looks like an elementary school kid. She even says the line, "I look like an elementary schooler, but really I'm an adult."
Wow.
Basically.
How did you react to that? Did you react to it in like a physical manner?
I actually laughed because I was like, this show actually just came out and said it. Like, usually they just insinuate like endlessly, like, oh, like, yeah, oh, look at her, like she she really hates spicy food. Oh, she's so cute, she's so young for her age, blah blah blah. And or like they just do it with character design or voice acting, like voice actors that sound like they're 3 years old and stuff like that. But this show is just like, no, I'm in middle school, you idiot, you baka. Even though I look like an elementary schooler, I'm really an adult. And then she's like, no, I really actually have the body of a middle schooler. I don't know. It was just, it's
oh my gosh,
fucking stupid. Episode 4, they get into a battle. The two main pairs get into a battle with each other for reasons I don't really understand. They just battle each other because reasons. And then like the battle ends anticlimactically, and then they're immediately friends again. And it's like, okay. It's like, so what was the point of that? And then it turns out that Koyori and the MC, like the way they sleep is they have like this two-sided sock that they put their hands in so they don't fall apart during the night. Because like I guess if their hands drifted apart during the night, Koyori would just die.
So they put holes in the sides of sleeping bags and then just sewed them together.
Basically. Well, no, I mean Koyori's sleeping on a bed and he's like on a sleeping bag or like a futon on the floor, like next to her, like reaching his arm up to her, and she's like has her arm like reaching down. I don't know. And that episode ends with like Koyori like waking up as he's sleeping, and like he's all injured from the battle from earlier, and she's starting to feel guilty about like the things that she's putting him through. So like the very last scene of the episode made me think that like she's gonna like try to do something like commit suicide or something maybe, so like he doesn't have to be trapped in these battles against his will anymore. So that seems like it's gonna get overly dramatic pretty soon. But she still doesn't talk, by the way. She's still like completely like unable to
she's
speak.
A mute.
Yeah, she's just mute, and like she makes like little like sighs and moans like huh. Like that's the extent of her dialogue. So very interesting show.
Why
clearly.
did they do that? No, okay, I guess there's a lot of why did they do that in this show, but
yeah, there is. Yeah, the visual design has not gotten any better really. Yeah, the animation is still all over the place. The CG is still really jarring. So
yeah. All right,
move on to Wednesdays.
Akiba strip, which is It's an okay show. It's the show is whatever. It's not doing much to really grab my attention, but it's not like it's overly bad. They keep seeing episode to episode jumping from like one hobby to the next. Like episode 4, it's about ham radios. So they're all about like walkie-talkies, and they put up a tower on top of their whatever their place is or hideout. And of course the bugged one that shows up this time uses radio waves to like make their clothes come off and whatnot. And it actually turns out the bad person is an old work buddy with the professor, the little lolly thing in the oversized lab coat on the Segway.
Of course.
And so they eventually, and somehow they, for whatever reason, they order pizza and chicken wings, and then
for whatever reason, because pizza and chicken wings are amazing, dude. I haven't seen this episode. I just assumed
drumsticks.
That's why.
It's just strange. And like at one point, they started getting like really technical about ham radios, and I'm like, I have no idea what you guys are talking about. So they're like trying to appeal to actual people who are into ham radios, I guess.
Well, they kind of did that in episode 3 where they appealed to audiophiles. Like, so maybe they're like appealing to different sections of like
so. And
otaku.
Wasn't episode 2 about the military otaku?
Yeah, I think so. So I guess they're probably trying to hit on all of the little groups.
And into episode 5, they go on to something else. But finishing up episode 4, anyways, the chicken comes wrapped in aluminum foil, and professor's like, oh yeah, that's right, it reflects radio waves. So they order like 3,000 things of chicken for the aluminum foil.
I can get behind this.
They eat it all, and then they build aluminum foil suits for everybody. And then they attack the tower, and of course they win. And that's the end of that episode.
Well, okay. Fair enough.
I'm losing so much interest in this that I'm just like watching more visually than hearing. I'm just looking for things. And I made a weird notice. The professor's glasses, the frames, the parts that go on top of your ear, hers go under.
What? That is weird.
It's just a weird visual thing I picked up, and I don't know why they did it like that. But whatever. On the episode 5, Akihabara Grand Tournament, where they play, which is the second show this season to flat out show a video game.
Oh, okay.
Like they're straight up using what was it? It's like Street Fighter 7 or something like that, and it's like the actual game that they're showing.
Cool.
And he gets stuck in a tournament, and they have this whole training montage where it's basically the professor just putting, what's the main character's name?
That is a great question.
Yeah, this is how much interest I have in this show. Main character is just torturing the crap out of him. Like at one point they're burning him on the cross, and they literally go just for no reason, just because.
I think his name is Tomotsu Denki
Main character guy, yeah. Anyways, so like his crazy ass training montage, and gets all powered up, and then he goes, and guess what? He finally wins the tournament and faces the girl who they thought was the protagonist, but it wasn't. And then the bad guy shows up, and they take him out in one punch, and that's the end of it.
One punch.
Basically. And yeah, I literally have one 3-word sentence for my notes for episode 5, and it's, this show's dumb.
Yeah, the show, it's not that great.
And it just may be because it doesn't have anything going for me, but it doesn't seem to have a plot. Instead of a monster of the week, it's a category of the week.
Yeah, or categories, yeah.
Something like that. Some hobby of the week. That's basically what it is. It has been so far. And then they just throw a bad guy in there for reasons. I'm going to use your excuse for earlier.
Reasons, quote unquote.
Like literally the bad guy shows up, very end. He's like, aha, it was me. And then main character's like, I'm freaking over this crap because he abducted her sister earlier, and he just punches him straight through the wall. and that's it. And then they find his sister in a room that is labeled hostage room.
Okay, I like that. That's a good.
And she's just sitting in there playing video games, and she's like, "Oni-chan, I can't beat this level. Can you help me? And why do you have no pants on?" Yeah, when they were playing the video games, the final battle, they had to they were stripping off their clothes because it was empowering them.
Yeah, that's weird because like, isn't that supposed to be the opposite? Like, aren't like when they strip off more clothes, don't they have more contact to the air and don't they get like killed by that?
The other contestant, this girl, was really was a bugged one, but she wasn't in the end, so it wasn't hurting her. So when the main character guy finally gets his clothes off, at the very end and wins it all, he's only got a shirt on, and then he's like writhing on the ground in agony, and the girl like gives him her hoodie, so he puts that on, but he still has no pants.
Okay.
And that's your update for Akiba's trip. I may probably just keep watching it because the absurdness.
Yeah, I might catch back up with it, but yeah, we'll see.
If I do drop it, don't be surprised.
Next show on Wednesday, I'm still watching One Room, which I'll remind you, Leo, is the show basically where there is no protagonist, and it's like from first-person point of view, and basically it's just like the continuing adventures of you as the protagonist.
And you're a mute, right?
Yeah, you're mute. Like, you don't say anything. It's like just you like looking and leering at this little girl who is slowly falling in love with you. So basically, episode 2, Hanasaka Yui Makes a Promise, is all about like you have decided to, since you're neighbors, you're going to tutor Yui to become, so she can pass this like entrance exam basically that she's worried about. You start to get closer and closer. You go to like the public baths with her for some reason. And yeah, that episode was just like sort of more like leering at her like in compromised situations and blah, 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 blah. Episode 3,
blah 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 blah.
Yeah, I mean these are very short episodes too, like, so there's like not much I need to talk about. This one, episode 3, she comes over and studies with you some more. She finds a porn mag under your bed. And she's like, "Oh, but you're a guy, so I understand. It's okay, I understand." And you're just like, okay. And then she comes back. I think is that the episode where she cooks for you too? I think she might cook for you that episode. She like cooks you like nice dinner as a thank you for like tutoring her. You get to watch her cook you dinner, which is stupid. And then
I was like, wait, how's that entertaining?
Well, it's entertaining, Leo, because the camera is focused on the Zetai Ryoiki of her butt, basically, as she's cooking for you, because that's all you care to look at, apparently, in this show. And then after more studying, she falls asleep at your apartment, so you get to like watch her sleeping, and she wakes up and you're like, "Oh no, it's okay, you can sleep." And so she's like, "Okay, I will, Oni-chan," and she goes back to sleep. Anyway, episode 4, this is the day of her exam. Finally, you've been tutoring her for like weeks on end or whatever, or for like 3 days apparently, I don't know. And you have bought her an academic success charm, which you give to her on the day before she goes to take the exam. And she like gets the exam and she's like at her desk and she's like holding the academic success like little red charm thing in front of her face, like with her eyes closed, and she's like praying like, "Oh, I hope I can do well for Oni-chan, blah blah blah." So she comes home, or she comes back to your apartment, like she opens the door, and then she like has like her fists like closed and clenched, and she has her eyes closed, and then she like smiles the biggest smile ever because she did well on her test, blah blah blah, and you've succeeded, and she's really happy. And
so what this show's telling me is that the secret to getting cute girls is to stand there in awkward silence until they submit.
Well, the show kind of like assumes that you're saying something back to her because she reacts to you, so she asks you questions, and like there are responses, you just don't hear the responses.
Or maybe she's a ditz and the voices are in her own head.
I really want that to be the twist. Like, hold on, I'll get to that. Okay, so...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
I was just trying to be funny.
You go to this, like, park, and, like, you walk through some cherry blossom trees with her, and she starts saying, like, "Hey, the whole reason that I wanted to do well on this entrance exam was so I could go to the same university that my parents went to, where they met each other. And I always thought that if I went to the same university as them, that I would meet somebody." And it was a kind of, like, cute thing, but then she's like, but I don't need to meet anybody because I've already found you. And
what if in the final episode, the camera pans out, turns, and shows you, and it's just a doll of M. Night Shyamalan? Would that make it worth it?
Yes, that'd be so good. That's so much even better than what I was thinking. Anyway, the weird thing about the scene where she's like, I found you already. She's like, can we go on another, can we go get food again sometime? Can we go to the public baths again? And then she's like, can I stay with you forever? And then now keep in mind, like, these people have known each other for like 3 days, like, or like maybe a week or two or something. I don't know. Like, so like literally after like a week of just like 2 pseudo dates, because they're not actually even dating, and then just like a little bit of tutoring, she wants to now be with you forever. So that's it. And then like, so yeah, I'm really hoping that the twist of this show is that like she is like an insane person, and like she's just been dating some like either nothingness or M. Night Shyamalan. I'd be totally happy with either of those outcomes.
Oh boy. Okay, well we can move on to another show that we're both enjoying greatly, and that's Kobayashi-san no Maid Dragon. I think lots of people are loving this show, but how about you take episode 3 and I'll take episode 4 because I got more notes on episode 4.
Yeah, so in episode 3, let's see. Kana has started living with Toru and Miss Kobayashi. And they decide that the apartment's getting like really cramped. Like there's a scene in the beginning of the show where like they're all trying to get something out of the refrigerator at the same time. And like they're like, God damn it. So they go apartment shopping. And they look at different apartments, but they finally choose one that has like a huge open roof on the top, which is kind of perfect for the dragons. Yeah. And then later on in the episode, there's a scene where like Kobayashi's like taking a bath, and Toru comes in and is like, please let me wash your back, Kobayashi-san, because she's like totally just like in love with Kobayashi. Like, and Kobayashi's like, oh, this is really nice. Like, is it like, how do you feel when like you take baths in your human form? Is it like really comfortable? And she's like, it's okay, but it's like kind of limited because like in her dragon form, like you can get like reach much more of her body. Basically, it doesn't feel the same. So like the next day, Kobayashi like wakes up and she's like, Toru, I'm gonna give you a bath. So they go on the roof of the apartment complex, and like Toru changes back into dragon form, and she pulls out a hose and just like washes her down like she's a car. I really liked that scene. I thought that was pretty great. And then later on in the episode, Takia, the guy who Kobayashi is working with, is invited back to the apartment, and Toru finds out
have
about
a housewarming party, right?
Yeah, for the new house. Yeah, basically. And then Toru's like, oh, I'm going to invite my friends. So she invites 2 other dragons. One is Fafnir, who is like a hikikomori dragon. Basically, he like hoards like his treasure in his like dragon cave, and like he never leaves. So like when he comes, he shows up in dragon form because he's an idiot, and then he changes back and he looks like a sort of like a long-haired like emo dude.
He's almost like a butler.
Yes,
that's what I got.
He does look like a butler. You're right. And then Lukoa, or Quetzalcoatl, is the other one, who is like Little Miss Cow Tits, basically, is how I would describe her. And she's like a ditz, and she comes in, she like Kobayashi's like, oh, you're wearing like really slutty clothes, and she's like, oh, am I? And
no, she asked her, she's like, did you come in here wearing all that, walk all the way here? She's like, yeah, why?
And I don't know, not much more happens that episode except that Fafnir is playing Dark Souls and he gets really into it, and it's kind of funny.
Yeah, but this is the second show this season that's showing actual gameplay.
Yeah, it's like literally a Dark Souls clone on the TV.
They just captured some gameplay. That's what they did.
And I also thought it was a nice touch that Fafnir like sees a chest in the Dark Souls game, and like Taki is like, oh, stay away from that chest, you don't want that. And like he's like, nah, whatever. He goes and gets the chest, and it like eats him. It's like a mimic chest. And it's funny because Fafnir is like, I think in real life, like mythologically, like a dragon who is super greedy and like just wants more and more treasure. So,
and hoards all his treasure.
Yeah, he couldn't resist opening a treasure chest, of course. So that was pretty cute.
Yeah, it was a pretty good episode. Episode 4 I thought was even better.
Way better, yeah.
Yeah. So like Kana's watching like little elementary schoolers go to school, and she really wants to go to school really bad, and it's super adorable. And they have this whole scene where they go buy school supplies and stuff and whatnot. And by the way, I'm going to give this synopsis, and I'm going to go back because there's a couple of like interesting things I noticed.
Okay.
But they get all the school supplies and whatnot, and it ends up costing it's not Rika. Rika's a little girl.
A Kobayashi.
Kobayashi. Man, it's in the freaking name of the show.
There's a lot of names to remember. Like, we're not always going to get all the names right in all these shows, so.
Yeah. So, yeah, Kobayashi, she's like at the register and she's getting ready to pay, and it's like 38,000 yen or something like that, and she's like, oh man, that's a lot. So she pulls out her credit card, but Kana's behind her, and she found like a little charm to hang from her. It's a little rabbit to hang from her backpack, but she sees how much it cost her, and so she like puts it back. But Kobayashi notices, so she eventually gets it. She at some point goes back and buys it, and after she's like done her first day of school, she like gives it to her in the end, and it like makes her like the happiest ever. And it's a super cute and adorable moment.
It is.
But then the show really starts getting funny, and just really neat is when she gets to the classroom, and that's when she meets Rika. And Rika's just this little, just loud little girl.
She's like a bully, basically. Yeah.
Almost a bully. And she like tries to bully Kana, but then Kana like fake cries and she panics. She's like, no, I wasn't serious. I was just kidding.
Yeah. And then like Rika, like in Rico, I think it's Rico. I don't know. She like immediately falls for Kana for like from that moment on, it seems like.
Yeah, she basically becomes her friends, and then they go to and this is really cool. They go to a playground, and they see the seesaws, and from an earlier episode, they're jumping on it. She calls it like a sky launcher, and
yeah.
Rika's like,
"What are you talking about?"
But then there's these I don't know, we'll just say middle school boys, since they were bigger.
Yeah.
They're like playing dodgeball, and like the ball is about ready to take out Rika, but Kana moves in super fast mode and like stops before it hits her. And then there's this whole spiel about Rika's like, you shouldn't be so rough around here with these little kids and whatnot. And she's like standing up, she's being strong and courageous, and she like challenged them to a dodgeball match the next day, and they're like, fine, we'll take it. And they walk away, and then she turns to Kana and she's like crying. She's like, what do I do? That they get back to the apartment, and all the other dragons we met in the last episode are there. So she invites them to go play dodgeball. Well, as you assume, 4 dragons against 4 humans, it's a complete massacre.
Yeah, it's like a wasteland.
They wreck them. So they run off, but they still want to keep playing. So they pair off on 2-on-2. And then they do something that they did in the second episode, where they go and get all their A-list animators.
Yes.
And say, come here, animate these 10 seconds for you. And it's literally Fafnir winding up to throw this dodgeball at Toru. And that's all it is. But it's this beautiful 10 seconds.
It's crazy. It's like straight out of like a much more action-oriented anime or something. Like it was like straight out of like the best moments of like Hunter x Hunter or something like that.
Yeah. And then they do like a little bout, and then like Rika's just standing there like blown away. She's like, what are these superhuman people? It's just funny. But then Luko can apparently erase people's memories. She's like, oh, don't worry, I'll put the playground back together and erase everybody's memories.
Yeah, and Kobayashi's like, oh, that's really useful.
Yeah. All right, that's your synopsis for it. But I noticed this episode it had serious moments that are way too serious for it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, at one point, Kobayashi, she says something about along the lines of like, you know, why all elementary schoolers dress the same. And she says they do it so that the differences don't surface between people. But then again, it impedes people from expressing their individualism and their own uniqueness. But this is a whole other subject that is way too serious for the show. Like,
well,
they go serious about it.
I felt it tied in with the fact that like these dragons are trying to like fit in with like the rest of society, but like they're by very definition, they're different. You know, they are not the same as other people. Like, so they have to balance that with like becoming, you know, uniform with the rest of society. And that's like literally what the Japanese little school uniforms do, is they make everybody the same and try to like make them all not stand out from each other, to like minimize differences, but at the same time that like takes away from their individuality. So yeah, it's a discussion that's for like a bigger show, but I like that this show is like alluding to that conversation, because you know I like that in even like the most comedic shows there is some kind of basis of like serious themes behind it too.
And then later on, Kana has another like serious thing where she's like talking about the inefficiency of the classes, and she's like, why don't they place the kids in different classes based on their abilities, would help them grow faster.
Oh yeah, Toru is saying that 'cause she's watching Kana.
Toru?
Yeah, she's watching from like a tree outside as Kana's like going through classes because she's worried
which is
about
a whole, I mean, that's a whole essay subject going on right there.
Yeah, that was something that came up in my middle school when I was growing up, actually. My middle school, when I was going through class, originally had the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders all together. And what it allowed us to do is that the 6th graders, if they were advancing steadily, like, or they wanted more of a challenge, they could do like the 8th grade level work in 6th grade and get extra credit for it, basically, and stuff. But like also like go ahead at their level, but if you're a 6th grader and you only want to do the 6th grade level work, that's fine too. And I also thought that it helped with socializing between those like 3 grades. And then it turned out, so I went to high school in New York State. Like once I got to high school, the Board of Education came under a lot of pressure, like because of like New York Regents exams and stuff, that they had to just separate the 6th and 7th and 8th grade classes apart from each other again, so they could all just focus on their own individual standardized exams, which I thought was really unfortunate, because I think that all of the grades should be together. I disagree with Toru. I think it helped a lot, especially in middle school, that like you're socializing with people who are older than you, you're building more friendships with people that you might be
Wait,
isolated
you say you disagree
from.
With Toru?
Yeah, I don't. I
well,
disagree.
No, that's what she
with her.
means.
Yeah.
She was like, you would take the whole school as a whole, and you would basically separate them on their abilities, how well they are. So like you would have 2nd graders with 4th graders and stuff like that.
Oh, is that what she was saying? Oh, then I totally agree with her.
Yeah, that's how she was saying it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because like there's a whole like education debate going on in the United States about that like right now. Like, not to get into politics again, but just very briefly, like Al Franken, when he was like grilling Betsy DeVos, the nominee for Secretary of Education, like in her appearance before the Senate a couple weeks ago, was saying like, yeah, I believe in growth, not in like what's the other word? Just but like standardized testing, basically, like, and just like reaching a certain plateau. He believes in looking at the student's growth from one level of ability to like another level of ability. And I think that's a better way to look at like educating young kids than just like saying like, oh, if you didn't pass this standardized exam and you have no chance of passing it, then we're not going to focus on you. And if you're way smarter, we're not going to worry about like giving you more of a challenge either, because like we don't need to focus on you either, because you're going to pass the exam, so we don't need to worry about you. So it's just a shitty way.
Like I said, it's a whole nother subject that we can obviously go on and on about. But
yeah, we didn't expect this from a Maid Dragon show.
Yeah, like I said, those 2 moments, they were just too serious. They seemed out of place in this show. But that was it. But there was only one other thing I noticed. There's another visual thing. And I didn't notice because I was bored. I just happened to... I'm working with numbers, doing a lot of numbers on the machines at work and changing them around. So I guess the numbers popped out to me. But when they're doing the math class... They're doing it in English numbers? Do they do that? I thought it'd be in Japanese.
I think numbers are always written in Arabic, like Arabic numeral system, basically. Yeah.
No.
I'm pretty sure. I think numbers are pretty standardized worldwide. Language, not so much, but yeah.
Yeah, that was just my question. That's all. It's just something else I noticed.
Just one last thing I want to mention is I thought it was really cute when they were picking out a backpack for Kana, that she chose a red one, and like Kobayashi's like, oh, that's really normal. It's like little red backpacks are very normal for like elementary school students. And then Toru's like, oh yeah, you picked it because it looks like it's absorbed the blood of the humans. And Kana's like, yes.
Oh my God.
So yeah, they still carry some of their dragon characteristics, even though they're becoming more and more human.
Very true.
Moving on to the next show, KonoSuba season 2 rolls on.
And keeps staying funny as fuck.
Yeah, it's still hilarious. Episode 3, Aqua and Kazuma go into a dungeon because they like are badly in need of money. They're totally broke and they're in tons of debt. They leave Megumin outside because she's like, yeah, my explosion magic is going to be completely useless because she'll use it once and then she'll pass out and won't be able to do anything.
Everybody's going to die in that enclosed dungeon.
Yeah. So
well, wait, doesn't he? No. He like pawns her off to do something else because the constable lady shows up, doesn't he?
Is that what happened? I can't remember the very beginning of the episode, but I remember the parts of the episode where Megumin is outside the dungeon and she's like using her explosion magic on Chimosuke, who's the cat, which is really funny. Or she's like practicing her like yells and stuff, and like Chimosuke is pretending to get knocked over. It's really cute.
Yeah, but just like in true fashion, Aqua, even when something turns out you would think is a gift, turns out just to be another pain in Kazuma's side.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, she can kill these undead super easily, but they're all attracted to her because of her goddess powers or something. So
yeah,
like
Kazuma's like,
overrun.
Kazuma's like, you're catnip to the undead. I knew it. But my favorite part is they work their way through this dungeon, you know, and they stumble across this like hidden room. By the way, they're in this dungeon because like they got a tip from the girl at the guild, and that she was like, by the way, this arm of the dungeon, like nobody knows about it yet, so if you go there you'll be able to get treasure that nobody else has looted already, and it's like at your level. And like Kazuma's like, oh, thank you so much, I really needed this. So they find this special room, this hidden room, and there's an evil wizard named Keel in there, and he tells them his story. And his story is basically that when he was like just a normal everyday good wizard, he did something and like was going to get rewarded by the king, and what he asked for was to have like the king's daughter become his wife. And this is a daughter who had been married off for political reasons, so she was really unhappy. So he basically, the king didn't agree with this, but he still like took the daughter away, and like they eloped, and like the entire kingdom was like trying to kill him the entire time. And so now he's down in the bottom of this dungeon. He's like an undead now. He's like a skeleton, and his dead wife is just a skeleton on the bed, and she's like, oh, look at her, doesn't she have a beautiful clavicle? And they're like, yeah.
Sure, whatever, man.
And so basically he asks Aqua to purify them, since she's like an archpriest or whatever. And so she uses like a spell of like sacred turn undead or something and purifies them both and lets them both go on into heaven together, which is kind of a sweet thing. Yeah, and then they leave the dungeon, and like they get attacked by a whole bunch of undead because Aqua is catnip for the undead. But they have awesome. Keel gave them like this big, huge treasure that he had been hoarding down there with his wife, just waiting for somebody to find them and purify them. So they go back to the guild, and they're like, yes, we finally made like a dent in our debt. We can finally start like paying some things off. And then like they start celebrating, and like Aqua's like, oh, we can get a few extra drinks tonight, right? And so they start drinking, and then Aqua gets a little drunk, and she's like, oh yeah, drinks are on me, everybody, Kazuma's paying for the drinks. And so like they pay for everybody's drinks and blow all the freaking money they just made.
And then cue beginning of episode 4.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where Kazuma is pissed at Aqua for spending all that money. And then he's like, well, I'm going to take it's like a shawl or something she wears around her, that pink thing.
Yeah.
He steals it from her, and she's like, no, give it back. And then lo and behold, darkness finally shows up. And it's great. She's been gone for a while, and she takes basically front and center in this episode. And she's looking fine as hell, too, when she shows back up.
Yeah,
she comes
in like
back,
noble clothes. Yeah,
she's in like a nice fancy dress. They had done something intricate with her hair, and she looks so different that at first they don't even recognize her. They're like,
"Yeah, who are you?"
She jumps. Yeah, she bursts the room. She's like, Kazuma, I'm in trouble. I need your help." And then they all look at her and they go, "Who are you?"
And then like they all immediately assume that because like the way that she went away is that like she like sacrificed herself to this noble guy like to save Kazuma from like being sentenced to death.
Noble has just been molesting her the whole time.
So Megumin's like, Darkness, go take a bath and have yourself like a good cry. And like Kazuma's like, yeah. And she's like, what are you guys talking about? Like, listen to me, nothing happened. And like Kazuma's like, yeah, no, it's okay, but Darkness, it's okay, we understand. And like all of them just assume that she's been like brutally like treated and like maybe raped and stuff. It's like horrible.
Yeah, for weeks, because she's been gone for a while. And she's like, oh no, he just engaged me to his son. And you're just like, they hear that cartoon noise of the hitting the brakes, like, you're like, what?
So yeah, they go off to like the castle or whatever where she's been being kept, and like she's meant to be engaged to this like very nice, like totally normal prince, and Kazuma sees this as an opportunity to finally get rid of her.
Yeah, because she's been nothing but I mean, she can't attack anything. Like, she has a duel scene with, well, that's later on, we'll get to that, but yeah, and they told this whole episode they're totally playing on her masochistic side, and it's hilarious, and it doesn't get old at all. Just one joke after the other, and I just keep laughing and laughing at them. Yeah,
just over and over. So like basically Kazuma's trying to like make this marriage work, and like Darkness's father is like saying, like asks Kazuma like to make sure that she doesn't do anything weird during like the engagement ceremony and whatever. And the guy who comes to, you know, be her suitor like meets them and like starts asking questions, and like he's
a really good dude.
Yeah, he's just a really good guy, like, and he likes Kazuma and he understands like that they're friends and stuff. It's just weird. I don't know. And then Kazuma basically like blows it by like continually like just getting pulled into Darkness's shenanigans, and Darkness decides that like she's gonna like ruin this no matter what it takes, because she doesn't want to be married. She wants to continue adventuring.
Yeah, and then every time Kazuma does something to stop her, like he steps on her cape or something to stop her from like barging in and like attacking the guy, and she falls face first, and she's a masochist. So everything he's doing is just like turning her like super on about Kazuma. And then there's the scene where I forget how, but at some point
she's like, I'm gonna challenge you to a duel to see like show you how much of a woman I am or something like that. Yeah,
to duel him. And as we all know, she can't hit anything, and by the end of it she's like out of breath, and the suitor guy's like, you know, I just don't get this. He's like, and Kazuma, how would you do this? Or she says something about Kazuma, you should do it, you should do this. Mm-hmm. And like, so he gets in there, and we know he gives no fucks.
Yeah, he just uses his like create water spell to like spray her, so she has basically like a wet t-shirt contest at that point, and she's like, no, and like,
and something interesting happens.
Yeah.
There's this term I know as, tell me if you know it, it's called Schrodinger's panties.
Schrodinger. Yeah.
Yes.
Related to Schrodinger's cat, the physics experiment.
Yes.
Yep.
So we know Aqua always exerts this. You can't even tell. I mean, there's one right in the beginning when she's begging Kazuma to give her thing back. Like, you're looking down her backside, and like you can just see her ass, but you can't see any panties. Well, Darkness rips off her skirt, and you can see her garter belt, but you never get to see a glimpse of her panties. And I'm just sitting there watching this, and it's killing me.
These are the things that you think about when watching KonoSuba.
Yeah, and really, you know, one thing I've always noticed, but I really picked up on, like, all these characters are so unique and so well written.
Yeah, they are really individual. Like, especially Megumin, like, she just is so much fun.
I can describe each of the main four characters so well and so much better than most other shows I could. I could write a lot more about them because they're so unique. I mean, there's even one scene. It's really hilarious where Darkness is describing like her perfect man, which is basically the most shithole of a person and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because almost all her points are things we know about Kazuma. So she's just describing him, and then like at the end she's like, and when I finally get home, he's like, what are you doing here? Get out there and make me some money or something like that. Like basically like tell her to go prostitute herself out, and she's just getting herself so worked up. Yeah, it is hilarious.
In the end of the episode, like
when it ends,
they all sit down together, right? Like it's like Darkness and her father and Kazuma and like the guy who's come to suit her, and basically she's like, all right, I've been hiding from you the whole time, but really the real thing is I'm having Kazuma's baby.
Kazuma's like, what? No. And Aqua's in the corner. She's like, I gotta go tell somebody.
The prince dude is like, oh, that makes so much sense. I'm so happy for you guys. And he just like leaves. And then the father, who you expect to be really pissed, like you see like an image of his hands like shaking, but then the camera comes up to his face and he's like crying tears of joy. He's like, I'm finally gonna have a grandchild. Yes.
And she's just, the Darkness just standing there holding her stomach, and Kazuma's like, no, this is not happening.
So Darkness is going to still be part of their little merry band of adventurers for the foreseeable future. It's good stuff.
Thursdays.
All right, Masamune-kun's Revenge.
You're still watching the show?
Yeah, I am actually. I'm sort of enjoying it. I don't think it's like great, but I think it's kind of fun and pretty funny. So let's see. Episode 3, we had Aki promises to go on a date with Kojiro because he challenges her to do like better than him on an exam. It's like I think the deal is if Aki and like her little like servant Yoshino can score better on the exam than Kojiro and it's like the trap friend, like the guy who like totally acts and looks like a girl, who reminds me of like the kid from Oragaru. Can't remember his name right now, but anyway. So Kojiro like quizzes him and like helps him study and all this stuff, and like they try to get a better score on the exam, and he does. Like in the end, like actually I can't remember who actually wins the end. There's like a lot of shenanigans, like somebody like poisoned like Kojiro's like food, but it turns out it was just his mom in the end, who was using like really bad like fish in his lunch or something, but he thought that like Aki or his servant had poisoned him with like some drink that they had given him right before the exam, so he was really pissed for no reason, it turned out. But anyway, they end up going on a date anyway, and it's funny because Aki has read like a book that her servant Yoshino like gave to her about like how to like be romantic on a first date, and like I don't know where she got this book from, but it's clearly like terrible, because she thinks that the proper thing to wear to a first date is like a cosplay from like Precure or something, like a little princess cosplay. So they're like out and about, like going to like a movie and like going to a restaurant, and she's wearing like a little pretty princess cosplay, and like and Kojiro doesn't have like the heart to tell her until like a little girl comes up to her in the restaurant and she's like, oh, you look really cute. Is that from like Hana Puree or something? And she's like, no, you don't understand, little missy. Like, this is what girls are supposed to wear at first dates. And like all the people in the restaurant are starting to turn and like look at them. And he's like, he like finally like runs outside with her and like tells her finally. And she's like, oh my God, she's like mortified. And so they go to like a clothing shop together, and of course, because of shenanigans, like she starts making a lot of noise in like the dressing room, and like he comes in to like check on her, and of course she's like only wearing a bra, and like so she punches him in the face. And then at the end of the episode, he's like unconscious, but she has brought him to like a park bench, and she has his head in her lap when he wakes up, like, and she's like asleep, and like, oh, it's a cute moment, even though they both like supposedly still hate each other. Like, they're clearly getting close.
This show's so obvious where it's going.
It's so obvious. It's like just the most obvious thing ever. But let's throw a little wrench in that. So episode 4, Clear and Present Danger. I don't know why it has that title. But so Masamune is planning to get his revenge on Aki, and he's like getting ideas from like reading like shoujo manga, like a manga called like Barasute, and like because he wants to just like make her fall in love with him. So he's doing all this stuff that is like really sweet and like generous and kind, and Yoshino's like she pulls him aside and is like, no, you're doing this all wrong. Like, what you need to do is you need to start being like really mean and distant to her. Like, basically like that idea of like negging or whatever that's like popular on the internet, like where you're like really negative and horrible to a girl to like make
where
them,
you're the jerk,
where you're just like a complete dick. And so he forces himself to do this, even though it's like really weird to him, and it totally works. Like, Aki starts like falling all over herself for him because she doesn't understand like why he's being so mean to her all of a sudden after being like really nice. Like, she's really
because everybody else is always so nice to her, and
she's used to being the mean one and having all the power, and now that he has like some power and she like realizes that like she cares about it, she starts to fall for him, and she begins to miss him, and like she almost gets hit by a car like at some point, like on her way home from school. Like he comes up from behind her and like saves her, and like says something like, I don't know what I would have done without you or something. So she realizes that like that whole negging thing was like wasn't really him. It's like
it was a front.
Yeah. And then like she's just like all at once, like all the emotions start like pouring out of her, and like she gets really close and she goes to kiss him, and it turns out that the car that had almost hit her had a girl in it, like an orange-haired girl who runs up to Masamune. This is right at the end of the episode, and like hugs him and says, "Masamune-sama, I never thought I would see you again, blah blah blah." And he's like, "Huh? Who is this?" And the episode ends. So episode
Great.
5. So we had the wrench thrown in the plans, and like, a lot of people were pissed that we didn't get that first kiss. But of course we didn't get that kiss. So Marika Tachibana is what I'm calling her, even though her name is Neka Fujinuma, because she is literally Marika from Nisekoi. Like, she is like the exact same character. She has been thrown into the plans here, and she's basically like a little Ojo-sama who apparently is completely in love with Masamune. But it turns out that she's like from this rival family called the Fujinumas, who I'm assuming are enemies of Aki Adagaki's family. And it's so like we see her in her car after she leaves the scene, like clearly Kojiro still has no idea who she is, but like now Aki is like really pissed that like he hugged her and like didn't tell her about it, like this girl and stuff. But she's back in the car with like her chauffeur, and she says like, the chauffeur is like, remember, you made a promise to your father for like the Fujinuma family. And she's like, don't worry, this game is going to be quite interesting. Like, I remember my promise. So like she's clearly got like some motive for like doing this, like, and it's got to be about getting back at Aki for something that their families did to each other. I don't know. So anyway, like they go to school, and like she's like all over Kujiro and like just trying to come between him and Aki, but he pulls her outside and basically is like, hey, what are you doing? Like, who are you? Like, I don't want to be any part of this. And like after like they've been running for like he like runs outside with like holding her by the hand, and like he's running, and then like she like falls. She's like, if you run too fast, and then she falls, and then like she falls, and then like she has like a little like stream of red stuff down her like lip, and he's like, oh my god, I just made her bleed. Like he like starts freaking out, and she gets up and she's like, oh no, it's okay. She like wipes it off her face, and she gets close to him, and like when he helps her up, she drops a ketchup packet on the ground. So it's clearly she just squirted a little ketchup on her mouth.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so like she's totally trying to manipulate him, and he sort of gets it at that point. He's like, hey, what the heck is this about? And she's like, I'm really in love with you, and like, who is this other girl? Like, can you tell me who she is that you like won't go out with me? And so he brings her to a classroom and like points out Aki, and like she looks at her, and she's like, her voice changes into this like kind of like evil one. She's like, oh, that's it? She won't be a problem. She goes,
God.
Yeah. And she goes and like basically tells her off. And then Aki like comes out of the classroom pissed off, and like Kojiro tries to catch up with her, and they're both in the hallway when they're supposed to be in class. So a teacher catches them and is like, God damn it, you're both punished. You're going to go clean the pool, because that's the only punishment in anime for anything ever wrong. Like, you either stand outside the classroom with buckets of water, or you go clean the swimming pool, basically.
It's a good excuse to get a girl wet, so we can get some etchy going on. That's what it is.
So we get Aki in her school swimsuit, and they're cleaning the pool and blah, blah, blah. And like,
oh my gosh.
Aki is trying to lift a bucket of water to like drop on Kojiro's head, but she's really weak. So she's like really slow trying to get over to him. And like she just stumbles at one point and falls into the pool, and it turns out she can't swim. So he dives in after her, even though they're both fighting, and like tries to save her. And it turns out she could actually just touch the bottom, so she gets to the edge of the pool, but she still appreciates that like he tried to help her out. And she's like, you need to prove it to me that like you still love me more than this girl. And he's like, how can I prove it to you? And she's like, you need to kiss me. Episode end. So now it's like set up for another kiss scene, and assuming that it's not going to happen again, because why would it? So I don't know. It's just like continuing shenanigans, this series. It's like a decent 5 or 6 out of 10, maybe. I don't know. Nothing better than that. So
all right, moving on. Kuzu no Honkai.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I've been hearing great things about this. I have downloaded the first 4 episodes and I put them on my tablet so I can watch them at work tomorrow. So then I'll be able to fill in also. But why don't you go ahead and just splurge about this?
I'll try not to be too spoilery then, because I know I want you to get like the full effect of these episodes. But yeah, this show is getting very intense. So in episode 3, basically, it's just the way that it's exploring these like adolescent relationships, using like subtle humor to like make it so it's not totally too heavy. It's just so great. Like the camera never looks away from these like really intense scenes of like kissing and like groping and like hugging each other that like every other romance anime hides the camera or doesn't show these scenes or doesn't give a kiss like ever. Like, so it's so like freeing that an anime is finally just giving everybody what they want for once. It's like just showing all these things like happening between each other. But it's hard because like all these relationships are super screwed up. Like, so
yeah, from your last introduction to this show, I was just like, there's too many are we at a love quadrilateral at this point? I'm not sure what's going on anymore.
Right now we're at like, yeah, it's getting really complicated, especially in episode 4. But basically, like, it turns out in episode 3 that well, first of all, Mugi and Hanabi have like another like sex scene basically, where, well, actually it's not really a sex scene at first. Like, she goes over his house because she's like upset and she just wants to see him, and like she just comes into his room like he's asleep, and like she's like, how do you get in my house? And she's like, the door was open. So it comes in the room and she like crawls into bed with him because she's like a little bit upset, and there's like a scene where like he had been having a dream. He'd been having like an erotic dream right before she got there. So like he's like trying to hide the fact that like he has like a total like morning wood boner going on. But she crawls into bed with him and she like gets really
the
close.
science behind morning wood, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, your testosterone is peaking in the mornings just before you wake up. So
yeah, but she doesn't know this. So she crawls into bed and she gets really close to him and he's like, oh no. And then he's like, and she's like, oh, you're hard. He's like, yeah. And it's just really funny because like then they start, like, she starts like touching him and stuff, and like this kind of reminded me of like when I was a teenager and doing this stuff for the first time with a girl, because like she starts grabbing it and like it's a really funny scene because he's like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to break it off? And it was just really cute because like he's like tells her like how to do it, and like they have like a little nice like cute scene and stuff. But Hanabi has a friend who's a girl named, actually, what's her name? I think it's like Ebato, but she calls her Echan as a nickname. And it turns out that Ebato is like really infatuated with Hanabi as well, because in the past she had met Hanabi for the first time when she was on like a subway train, and a guy came up behind her and got like really uncomfortably close to her and started like putting his hand on like her like side and like trying to like grope her basically, and like she was trying to like, she was really uncomfortable, and Hanabi was standing right next to her. And I guess this is a situation they've dealt with before, because Hanabi, instead of like just directly like saying something to him, like she pulls out her cell phone and takes a picture of his face and then shows it like so he can see, and he walks away because he's like, oh shit, they might like turn me into the authorities or something for doing this.
Yeah,
it's like a really shitty situation. But Echan basically gets off the train and like Hanabi's like, are you okay? Like, I'm really sorry that happened to you. And Echan's like, no, it's fine. And then Hanabi's like, no. Like, she like grabs her by the hand and it's like, it's okay, you can open up. And then like Echan like starts breaking down and crying because like it was a really horrible thing that happened to her. And because of that, like that was how they became friends. And Ebato like kind of like really is infatuated from Hanabi from that point on. And it turns out that it goes like really far because Echan kind of like wants to make things happen like sexually with Hanabi. And we get into that very much in episode 4. It gets very hot and heavy, and it's also like really, it's like, so all of the scenes in this show are viewed from like a point of view of like somebody who was just trying to enjoy it, like without thinking it all would just be like really sexy, kind of like almost hentai-esque scenes. But there's always this undercurrent of like, this is horribly wrong going on at the same time, because like Hanabi is kind of like letting herself like be in a sexual situation with Ebato, even though she knows that she doesn't love her or doesn't really want to be like this, but it's because like she's friends with her, and Echan like just needs this right now. It's kind of like how Hanabi needs Mugi to be a replacement for her crush on her like older brother type figure. So it's really complicated, but like everybody's having sex with each other now, and then it turns out that the teacher.
I'm actually
what?
I'm actually impressed they went there then.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like first, like just if you take a step back from this, like no show goes this far ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Like I was thinking about it, and I was like looking back on this, like these past couple episodes, and I was like, they took all of the sexy scenes that should be in every other romance anime but never are, and they just threw them into this one show. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. It's like sometimes I feel like it's like overdoing it, but then other times I'm like, I'm just glad we're finally getting something that's like truly like willing to deal with like really intense sexual situations in like sort of like a smart intellectual way.
Well, maybe the Japanese people can finally learn a little bit from it, because I mean we know they have a problem over there with
reproduction
procreating
rates,
so
and then another character that got fleshed out a bit is the female teacher named Akane, who Hanabi's older brother figure, Narumi.
This is episode 4 now, right?
Yeah and the end of episode 3, like Narumi is like, you know, lusting after this teacher, and Hanabi wants to be with Narumi, and so that's why it's like a whole like love, like quadrilateral, whatever. So, but basically it turns out this teacher is like actually like a bitch. Like this teacher, it turns out, like understands that Hanabi wants to be with the guy, and that's part of her reason for like stealing him away from her. Because when she was younger, she found out that like she got into a relationship with a guy who her best friend wanted to be with, and she knew that her best friend wanted to be with her, with this guy, and she didn't even have much of an interest in the guy, but she saw the look on her friend's face of like disappointment and sadness, like when the guy was looking at her at Akane instead of her, and she got like addicted to that. Like she got addicted to like the schadenfreude of like seeing other people disappointed in not being able to like get into relationships with these guys, because those guys like want her instead, and she's like total like an evil bitch. So it turns out that like she's actually been like just playing with Narumi in order to like make Hanabi feel like crap, like Narumi's not even her type and stuff like this. So everybody in this show is an asshole so far, except for Narumi, who is so far just like has this kind of like I don't know, what's the word, just like innocent love and crush on this teacher without knowing who she really is. But the thing is, like, either he's going to turn out to be some kind of scumbag as well. Like the title of the show is Scum's Wish, and everybody's a scumbag in the show. It might just be because he gets sucked into this situation. He starts to find out how evil all these other people are. So I don't know. I'm loving this show. It's like the best kind of like soap opera ever, I guess, basically. It's trashy at times, but it's really compelling at other times, and has a lot to say, and it's really sexy, and it's interesting to watch.
Oh, I'm very glad to hear. So now we got Fridays, and
oh yeah,
you are still going to be doing some more talking before we get to one I'm going to talk about.
Just a little bit of talking here. So
yeah,
Urara Meirochou continues to be the pedo anime of the season.
Well, that's what happens when somebody on the podcast decides to watch everything because they don't believe anybody else's reviews.
Well, luckily I don't have much to say about this show. I've kept up with it just to see how bad it gets, basically. But like,
yeah,
episode 3 was like the girls get roped into working in a magical item store. They accidentally break something, and they try to apologize by lifting up the little girl's shirt, but it doesn't work, so they have to work there for a little bit, and then one of the girls gets her hair caught in the other girl's shirt. So
What?
they like are stuck together because she has this wild like wolf girl hair that is just like she's never like shampooed in her life or something. So it's like it gets caught in the girl's button and they can't like get it off. So they have to like stay next to each other for a few days basically, and they get a closer bond. Like it's just stupid little things like that. And then
For a few days. Oh, did they not change the shirt?
Eventually she just breaks her shirt. Like she didn't want to like break her shirt. Like they would have had to broken the buttons off of it because it was like a really special blouse that she really liked or something. Like
cut the hair. It's just a little snippet.
No, they can't cut her hair either because like she's afraid of scissors because of something that happened to her in her childhood. So,
oh my God.
It's ridiculous. So episode 4 is all about bad omens. Like the first half of the episode, they get caught in a rainstorm and they're trapped there. But they kind of make the best of it, but they kind of start talking about like the bad omens, like black cats and stuff that they've been seeing recently.
Do they get soaked by the rain?
I think initially they do, but then when they're under like this little gazebo, they're okay. So no, I don't think there's anything with that.
I was halfway expecting a scene like that.
Well, don't worry, because the second half of the episode
God
is where they start to try to do some mole reading. Like some of the girls have like little moles on their skin, and apparently it turns out that if like you have a mole in a specific place on your body, it means a different type of thing. So, of course, this is just an excuse to get all of these little girls to strip down to their underwear and look at each other's bodies and play with each other and blah, 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 blah. Pedo anime 101.
I literally facepalmed when you said that last line.
Yep. So, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
And continue to watch that show if you're a pedophile. So.
Are you going to continue watching the show?
No, I just enjoy, like, reporting back and just seeing how people, like, respond to this show because it's just such garbage. But
yeah, you're basically hate watching, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Seiren continues on. So this one was actually really controversial. Episode 3, we had Shoichi and Hikari like spending more time together at their like study camp that's up in the mountains. And there's some fun shenanigans where like Hikari comes over to his room and like she's like really depressed because like she was supposed to go on a summer vacation to the beach, but she didn't get to wear her like swimsuit. And so like she drags him off to like the bath at this place and like wears her swimsuit. She's like, you want to see it like right now? And so she takes him to go see it, and like they're in the men's bath and like they're really awkward because that is an awkward thing to be doing. And then one of the camp counselors like comes to like take his late night bath. So Hikari has to like dunk her head under the water for like a full minute while Shoichi like pretends to be like coming on to this guy like really heavily in order to like scare him away basically. So it works, and then like she comes out of the water and she's like passed out because she's like held her head under hot water for like a full minute. And yeah, it's just like shenanigans like that. They eventually leave the camp, and there's not much more like progression has happened between the two of them, but they continue to get closer. But so episode 4 was the final episode of this first arc, because this is like an Amigami SS series, so it's like 4 episode arcs between the main character and one of the girls. So this is the end of their arc. So it turns out that Hikari thought that Shoichi had been the one to rat her out for having a side job while she was working while she was still in school, which her school doesn't allow, and that's why she wasn't able to go on the vacation that she wanted to go to. And she got thrown into that study camp with him. So she thought that maybe Shoichi had been the one to rat her out, but it turns out it was her friend Yukie. And the reason her friend ratted her out was that like the guy that she was going after had a crush on Hikari. And so she wanted to get Hikari out of the way for the entire summer so she could get really close to this guy.
How old are these people?
High school aged. So this is a really fucked up thing to do.
High schoolers are brutal, dude.
I guess, yeah, it's kind of realistic. I guess high schoolers would think to do something like that. But the thing is, like, the way Hikari reacts is just like, she's just like relieved to know. It's like, she's just like really, she's like, oh, it's fine, Yukie. It's okay. Everything turned out fine. I'm like, what?
No, it's not okay.
Yeah, it's totally not okay. Like, she should have like slapped her across the face or something. It was really fucked up. But whatever. They move on, and now Shoichi's in the clear because she knows that he didn't rat her out. They wind up going to the beach. They get into like the waves, and there's this really funny scene where like a wave like knocks them over, and like she kisses him underneath the wave, but they're like 5 feet into the ocean. Like they've like barely stepped off the beach. Like they have not waded very far in. But like when they get knocked over, there's like a scene where like the waves are now like 10 feet above their bodies.
It's all for effect. Come on.
It's for like dramatic effect, but it's just like really funny. They're like kissing under the waters, whatever. But then she decides that she wants the relationship to end here. She has decided, like, because of cooking him like food at the sleepaway camp and how much he enjoyed it, that like he was the first one to ever tell her that, like, and confirm that she had like talent for something. And so she decides that she's going to become a professional chef. And she also decides that in her last year of high school, she doesn't want to have a boyfriend because it would distract her from pursuing this. Like, she decides she doesn't want to go to college. She's just going to finish high school and then become like a trainee, like personal chef somewhere. So like their relationship basically ends there. Like they don't even stay friends. Like they exchange numbers, but he tries to text her sometimes and she just doesn't even respond. So it's really weird. Like she goes from like kissing him and all this stuff to just like basically shutting him out of her life completely. And then there's like a fast.
Why?
It's really, I don't know why
they don't give a reasoning.
The reasoning is that like she thinks that he would be a distraction from her career. That's the reasoning, which okay, but like that's not the way I would expect. Like,
and she doesn't tell him.
She doesn't really communicate it that well, except by just not talking to him.
Oh my god, it's so much like real women.
That's kind of true. There's a 4-year time skip, I think. So
whoa,
yeah. So because this is the end of this arc, so they have to wrap it up somehow. So it turns out that
4-episode arc.
4-episode arc, and so like now there's like a 4-year time skip at the end of this arc. So basically, it turns out Shoichi has worked to become a nutritional dietitian, and I guess the idea is that he wanted to be like something related to cooking, so that if he ever met up with Hikari again, like he could be useful to her or like work with her as a chef.
He's still stuck on her after 4 years?
I guess so. Like, even though she's never talked to him, he hasn't moved on this entire time. It's really kind of weird when you think about it.
He needs to go watch Frozen and let it go.
That was a good one. All right. So, and then he's working, I think, at the restaurant that Hikari used to work at when she was back in high school. He's helping out the boss there. But the head chef there is like leaving for a couple months, and he's hired some hotshot chef who's been studying abroad in Spain to come help out.
Studying over abroad?
Sorry, studying. Goddamn. That's the DLC. That's the side content. Don't worry about it. Studying abroad in Spain to come helm the restaurant while he's like on leave. And it turns out that the girl who's been studying in Spain to be a chef is Hikari. So she's gonna work with Shoichi.
Of course.
But there's no kiss. There's like nothing. It's just like the indication that they might get back together. So like people reacted really poorly to this episode. Like I saw that somebody posted on Reddit like the pre-order numbers for volume 2, which would be episodes 3 and 4 of this show, have gone like straight to hell if you look at the graph, because people were not happy with like the way this ended. Like it's kind of indicates a happy ending, but in any like visual novel, this would be like a bad end. Like it would not be a good end. Like they didn't hook up. Like it's pretty unsatisfactory. So the new arc is starting, but I haven't watched the first episode of that yet. I think it comes out tomorrow actually. So we'll see. Let's move on to something a little bit better.
Cool. How about can we do Saga of Tiny the Evil? Because I think that's better. Yeah, and I'll say it again. This is the I refer to it as a breakout show, and when I say that, I mean there was almost no fanfare. Nobody knew what to expect from this, and it turns out to be, from what I can tell, pretty much well received by most people. Are actually really enjoying it.
Yeah, no, it's pretty solid.
Yeah, but we're going to do 3 episodes this time because I watched the 5th one just before we started this.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't watched episode 5, but I've watched episodes 3 and 4, so I'm almost...
Yeah, I watched episode 5, and as soon as I thought this series was starting to lull, no, episode 5 made up for it.
Yeah.
So episode 3, Deus Vult, however you want to say that.
I think it's Deus Vult in Latin, at least.
She has like a, like you said, stunning success with her first mission. When she gets reassigned, and she thinks it's a nice cushy test job, but it turns out the scientist guy / engineer is a total craze ball.
Yeah.
And he's putting like these highly unstable it's a jewel, right?
It's like a jewel or a crystal or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and it helps them, like, it basically helps them harness their power. And well, this is supposed to help her harness it better, but she takes it, puts it on a couple times, and basically blows up in the sky a couple times. And I don't really know why, but then survives the 3,000-foot fall a couple times. Or they had a parachute hidden on her, and I just couldn't see it. But they finally get it to work only because Being X steps in and interferes, because he is an ass and he cheats to win.
And he like forces her to like pray to him, like to make it work, basically. Which is interesting.
Yeah, she has to pray every single time she uses it, so it's just reinforcing it. He's pushing his presence on her. She has to accept it. And like that's the underlying thing that's going on then in the show, but
yeah, I thought that episode was okay, actually. On second, like I was kind of annoyed at first that like, oh, now God is like real and like the only way things will work is through his power, but in the end, like Tanya still is really pissed off at him, so I like that aspect of it.
Yeah. I mean, she's still like totally against it, which just makes her even more stout and just not letting him win. But go ahead and take on episode 4 for me, Bcom, since I'll handle 5.
So I think episode 4, basically she has been reassigned to like the back lines at this like academy, and she's kind of like really happy that she's there. Like it's this cush place where she doesn't have to fight every day, and she's really happy just to like sit there. And so now though the problem is that she gets like asked by like a general at the academy to come like help him like strategize in case there's like another big war that's going to break out. And he asks her like questions of like how she would deal with like certain situations. And she's like, well, the thing that would be really useful if there was like a quick strike like mage unit that could just like go and be like a group of commandos that could strike anywhere, strike really fast, and like take care of problems like immediately.
Yeah, I really like what they did with her character in this episode, because we know she's from a different world, and this gives her a big advantage. She's only like a little kid, but she's a full-grown adult with all this experience, especially this other world, and especially things about war. But then she still makes a mistake in this specific scene where she almost puts her foot in her mouth, and something about not outright just winning the war, like they might actually lose or something. She almost makes that suggestion.
Yeah, exactly.
So she still has her faults, but they still give her the little advantages that she would have. So I just like how they did that with her character for this scene.
Yeah, and basically it turns out that at the end of the episode, they make her in charge of a mage quick strike unit, like exactly like she had planned out. So she's going to go from being on the back lines where she wanted to be to being right back in the middle of the conflict. And I guess that leads into episode 5, which I haven't seen yet. So
yeah, and episode 4 was just kind of an information one. There wasn't really any action or anything to it, and that's when I thought the series was going to start to lull on me. No, totally wrong. Episode 5, she has this crazy hard recruitment process, but she finally gets some recruits, and they're like, you need to train them, and she says something like, give me 6 months or something like that, and they're like, what? It takes 2 years to train a full soldier. But then from the episode 4, when she's having the scene with the strategist guy, he's like, do anything possible to get these soldiers trained. And does this series just get dark from here on out? So she's got all her soldiers, and they're out in the training field, and she's flying up above them and gives them a little speech. And what's her the other girl from the first episode? She's back now too. which is fine by me.
Yeah, I can't remember her name except that she has really weird lips. That's all I know.
She has giant eyes. Her face is giant eyes and giant lips and big boobs. But then she's there, and then Tanya's giving her speech or whatever, and then she's like, "Oh, there's an enemy encampment so far away, and if they learn of your position, you will be under fire for the next 38 hours because I know exactly how much ammunition they have." And then she shoots a giant flare in the air, and she says, "Survive 38 hours," and they start shelling the shit out of them. So they're all like digging holes, trying to get in their holes, and like it's just crazy. And like any of them could die any minute. Super hard training. Like this isn't a training montage. This is the first half of the show. And then she's like, "All right, well, you got to get to this 38 hours are up or whatever." And then she tells them, she drops a map. She's like, "All right, now you got to go to this point on the map through enemy territory within like 48 hours." And they're like, "Oh my God, that's not even possible." So they start marching, and there's little scenes where they're sneaking around and stuff. And they finally get to this, they're in the mountains or something. And this one guy finally kind of snaps, and he yells, and he's like, "This is bullshit," or something like that. Causes an avalanche. They're all like, "Ah!" They're like, retreat. And I'm like, no, run for your lives, motherfuckers. There's no retreat from an avalanche. So the avalanche hits them. They're like barely alive. One dude's holding another dude, and he's like, "No, don't be dead. And Tanya comes down. She's like, something about, this is just training, but this wasn't supposed to happen, but uneventful things still happen or whatnot. And then she roundhouse kicks the freaking dude who's dead. Snow flies out of his mouth, and he's back alive. I don't know why.
What?
And it's a scene that's supposed to invoke, like, she will still be there to protect them, but they still have to. And suddenly, all of them get a huge morale boost, and are like, "We will finish this." And the whole time, she's been trying. Her goal has been trying to make this thing so brutally hard that everybody drops out.
Oh, okay, I get it.
But it had the opposite effect. And then it cuts to like the end of the 6 months or whatever. And she's standing there, and her freaking eyes twitching because nobody's dropped out. And she has a full battalion. She's like, "What the?"
And now they're probably all like super good at their jobs too.
Oh, no, okay. Now they're just the hard asses of all hard asses, this battalion. And this is only half the episode. The last half, they're being invaded by some other country, and the country is just being super foolish. They're like not encoding their transmissions or anything like that, so they can read everything openly. They find out that they don't have any air support or anti-air or anything like that. So her battalion flies in. They see the invading force. They just wreck them. Just destroy them to pieces. And then they go to like their encampment, their HQ point where they're in there. They get in there. They land down in the middle of all the squads, and we know they have shields. And the commander's like, "What are you doing?" And Tanya says her little deal. And then the commander's like, "Shoot them." And they're all shooting, but they're bouncing off the shields, and they're all standing there like, whatever. And then Tanya's like, "Kill everybody but the commander." And then they just all kill everybody but the commander.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Then they take all the spoils from the camp and send it back to their HQ, And then she's like, "You know what?" She basically just gets ego boost. So they go into enemy territory, and they go to their factories where they're manufacturing all this stuff. And they're up in the air, and they're having a little conversation about, there's some laws and war or whatnot. And they can't attack any civilian things or nothing like that, but they can only attack the factories. But they have to announce to them that they will be attacking them and give them a chance to evacuate. And one of the other, her first lieutenant's like, "But then we lose the element of surprise." And Tanya's like, "Yeah, you go too much by the guidebook, but we still have to follow these rules or whatnot." And then she tells her second lieutenant, which is the girl, to send the, tell them we're going to attack you or whatnot. And she's like, "I think you should do it." And Tanya turns around, and everybody's like, "Yeah, it should be you, Tanya," or whatever. And so she goes to do it. And it's pretty funny because they were supposed to lose their element of surprise. But Tanya goes from her little, like, lispy voice, or whatever.
Yeah.
She goes full on elementary school grade girl.
Okay.
And she's like, hi, this is the so-and-so army. We're here to warn you. And like it shows them laughing in the factory, and like the guards are like, ha 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 ha, and they're like, whatever. And then it goes back to Tanya, and she's got that super evil look in her eye, and she's like, well, we warned them. She's like, all right, everybody get ready for a long-range bombardment shot. And then they kill everybody.
Interesting.
And it's a little dark.
Wow. Edgy.
It was I did laugh a little bit. I laughed when she did the little kid's voice. I was like, oh my God. But then like halfway through it, I'm like, oh no, this is really dark and twisted.
God.
Oh God. and then they killed everything. And that was the end of that. So her first battalion is just almost can't be stopped.
Well, that's interesting. We'll see what happens with that. All right, let's move on to another bad show. Fuuka is still airing. And
You say it, the way you said that.
Fuuka.
It's still airing. It should have stopped.
Yeah, the show is still on.
I just one quick note.
Yeah.
I have officially begun to hate watch this show. I'm sorry if somebody likes it, but I have just begun to hate watch it. I can't get past it.
Yeah, episode 4 starts off like immediately where episode 3 ended, where Tama and Yu were on like the boardwalk, and Fuuka had seen them and basically like ran away, and like blah blah blah. And so Fuuka she's upset with him, like rightfully, because like he never told her that like he's friends with this person who she has like, she's a huge fan of her because she's like a famous idol. So, and he like kept that information from her. And there were plenty of times when he could have told her, like at the concert that they went to, he probably should have told her. So she's upset with him. But anyway, they find out that like some of the people at their school and like their teachers and stuff are actually members of the band Hedgehogs, who Fuuka has really
looked up to. Which I find total BS because they idolize this group.
Yeah. And they don't know them.
I think mistaking one would have been one thing.
Yeah. But
they mistake 3 of the members.
Yep.
How do you do that?
I don't know. They're not very good fans.
This is anime magic. That's all that is. Yeah. They have their songs completely memorized, but they have no idea what they look like. Give me a break.
So they decide to like do a little concert. Basically, like the members of Hedgehogs want to test Fuuka to see how good she is. And so like they have a little concert on the beach, and Fuuka is the lead singer, and the band had like lost their lead singer, I think. So they were happy to play again. Why the other members gone is because they went to try to find them or something like that. Yeah. And so Yu plays bass, and he's terrible at it. Like he just can't play at all. So it's kind of funny that they like make him play bass in this concert. He like he barely plays. He just is kind of like watching
he doesn't.
Fuuka. Yeah, he doesn't play at all.
I rewatched the entire scene. Yeah. He just literally stands there in shock. He never even strums one string.
Yeah, he's in shock because Fuuka is like a super good singer, and like the rest of the band is like really happy because they've seen her sing. And like from a distance, like, wow. Tama is watching this performance too, as she's packing up with like her idol like crew and like leaving this place. But anyway, moves on to episode 5, and basically Fuuka and Yu's band has started to like practice, and so they go to like a local like studio to practice, and like they're trying to get some lessons on bass guitar for Yu because he's terrible, and so he starts practicing.
Oh, we're on episode 5 now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this is where I officially called it. I was like, the tropes in this one are so bad.
Yes, they are.
Oh.
They meet a new girl named Sara Iwami, who is in another band that's practicing at the studio, but they find out that she's gotten kicked out of the band.
Well, they first run into her because they're at the cafeteria, and she's at a table by themselves.
Oh, right.
By herself.
By herself, yeah.
And it's like the only table available, so Fuuka walks over there, and she's like, hey, do you mind if we sit with you? And then she's just like, gets up and walks away. And that's your first introduction to her, is she's a bitch.
Yeah. And so they meet her again at the studio, and they're like, hey, you're the girl from school. And like, she's just a total bitch to them. Like, you can tell, like they say that she's gotten kicked out of like 3 or 4 previous bands, like every time. And it's because she doesn't communicate well, and like, she's just pretty much ice cold and mean to everybody.
Oh, you missed the part.
Oh, which part?
So, well, first off, she's the, one of the hedgehogs' younger sister.
Oh, right. I forgot.
And when they walk into the room, oh my God. That's his name, right?
Yeah.
He somehow trips.
Oh, God. Yeah. I blocked this out of my memory.
And face plants into her boobs.
Of course.
And I was just like, why are we doing this? And then, of course, she hits him.
Smacks the shit out of him. So, anyway.
Keep going now.
Yeah. So, it turns out, like, they want her to be part of the band because she's a really good guitarist. So, they sort of try to recruit her. But she's really cold to them. Like, but basically, they keep working on her. Fuuka keeps asking her, like, incessantly. They basically go out to eat dinner after a practice, and everybody leaves except for you and Sarah, who are just left sitting at the table, and it's, like, really awkward because she's really mean and she doesn't talk.
And I want to say, the very first tweet gives it away.
Yeah.
But it takes, like, 5 more tweets. I'm like, it's pretty obvious, you two idiots.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so what was her name?
Sarah, yeah.
Sarah. Her Twitter name is the Admiral. And
David Robinson.
If you've been paying attention, I don't know why she's the Admiral.
She's a huge San Antonio Spurs 1990s fan, that's why.
Yeah, and she's one of the biggest Twitter followers of you, because we know he tweets a lot or whatnot. But they're sitting there and they have this back and forth text. And he's saying things like, "Oh, I'm with this girl, and she just seems really cold and not talking to me." And then Admiral tweets back, "Well, why don't you just try saying something anyways," or something like that.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, I'm out eating with my friends." And then she posts a picture of the sundae she just got in front of her.
And so he sees it and he's like, "Oh, wait."
And it still takes him like fucking 15 seconds to figure it out.
So basically, once she figures out that this is like her Twitter friend, her personality,
she's a totally different person.
Yeah, her personality completely changes. Like, she's like a total dere, like she's like fawning all over him. Like, she's like super happy to see him. She just can't stop talking.
And why is this loser of a guy having all these women fawn over him?
Because he's really popular on Twitter, I guess. No, I don't know. It's really weird. I don't know.
He's so terrible. There's nothing good going for him. Oh, and we skipped the part at the beginning of episode 5 when Idol Girl is in his house.
Oh, right. Yeah. I didn't remember that much except for that. So basically, like, she's looking back at photo albums with them as when they were kids. And she kind of gets out of him that he used to have a huge crush on her, and like she has to like basically get up and leave the house at that point, which makes him feel really awkward. But the reason she's leaving is so she can be on her own and be really happy, because she had a crush on him back then and she didn't know that her feelings were like returned. So now she feels like even more like encouraged than ever, like make a relationship with him happen. So yeah, that's basically what happens in that first scene. But yeah, it's just a lot of weird drama in this show, and it's also kind of turning into a harem now because there's 3 girls that are all interested in you.
And it's just one tropey thing after another, and it's driving me insane.
Luckily, the thing I like in this show is just the music. I like the band stuff. I like the singing, so I'll probably stick around for that. But yeah, otherwise it's really overdramatic. So let's get on to, is this still Fridays? Where are we? I don't know what day in the week we are.
We're still on Friday. Oh, geez. We're still on Friday. So you have
second to last day, second to last show. So Shouwa Genroku Rakugo Shinjuu is still going on. And let's see. So season 2 is making progress. Episode 3 basically had this big showdown where so Konatsu has had a child, and Yotaro doesn't know who the father is, but kind of suspects. And there is a whole thing because Konatsu goes to meet with like these Yakuza leaders, basically, or like gang leaders, who she's trying to ask them for something, or like to be careful about something, or forgive her for something. It's kind of unclear. And Yotaro follows her there and basically barges in, and he figures that it's either this gang leader or like one of the subordinates there that is the father of Konatsu's child. And so he basically yells at them, which is really dangerous because he's sort of a nobody and they're gang leaders. And he just yells at them and tells them, you need to accept that this child is my son. he may not be my blood, but I'm going to be the one to take care of him, and I'm going to be the one to take care of Konatsu. So don't you dare come back like 10 years later for your son when I'm the one who raised him, and I'm the one who's going to love him and be there for him. So it's kind of a nice scene. Like, he gets out of there unscathed because, like, the Yakuza boss is basically, like, just impressed by his bravery and just, like, his willingness to go above and beyond. It's still really unclear, like, who is Konatsu's baby's father or why she had a kid with, like, either one of these guys. I wish this show would be a little bit more explicit about the reasons for that. Is it just because she like lost her way? Is it because she's following in the footsteps of her mother Miyokichi a little bit? Is there like a parallel there? I guess it's really interesting. I just don't fully understand like that part of it. But anyway, Yotaro standing up with her for her was really nice, and it definitely like made her like definitely see him in a different light. Which continues on into episode 4, which is, there's been a bit of a time skip now. And in episode 4, Yotaro has had a huge, like, swell in popularity, especially because he's been performing on these children's shows, like these children's TV shows. So he's become, like, a popular storyteller among kids now. And so he and Konatsu are invited to go perform at their son's school, like elementary school, just to put on a little Rakugo show to show them what Rakugo is. And also because like his son's like kindergarten or first grade class is like super into Jugemu, which is this one story that he told on the children's TV show. So they go to perform this for them, but there's a twist. So Yotaro gets up on stage and he gets the crowd of kids like super fired up, like really happy. And he's like, all right, hold on 1 second. I just need to go do something on the other side of the stage, or behind stage. So he goes behind the stage and he says, Konatsu, hey, this is your chance. I know you've always wanted to perform Rakugo. You know Jugemu like it's like in the bottom of your soul, because like she reads it to their son like every night to like help him go to sleep. She performs like a little like Jugemu lullaby. And so he like basically pushes her out on the stage and says like, you do this. And so she's like sort of terrified for a minute, but then she gets into it. And this is the first time that she's ever performed Rakugo in front of a crowd. And you can tell that like once she starts getting into it, she's like really great. She's just fantastic. She has like everything she's learned from like listening to her father as a kid to listening.
She's just been around it so much, it's apparently just rubbed off on her, and it comes almost naturally.
She's clearly made to do this, and like she's been following Yakumo, and she's been following Yotaro, and she knows she has all this knowledge, and she's been practicing her whole life, and she puts all of it into this one performance for this group of kids, and she makes them and their parents who are sitting in the back of the room all crack up. And like every time she like sees like the smile of a kid in the audience, or the smile of her son Shinosuke, she like almost cries a little bit before she continues on. Like it's just really touching. And she finishes the performance, comes off the stage, and Yotaro is like, well, you liked it, didn't you? And she just gives him this smile that is just so wonderful. It's like this, a smile that we haven't seen from her basically this whole season. She's been really irritable and unhappy, and like she's finally found something that makes her truly happy. So I'm hoping that they continue on and have her perform more Rakugo as the season goes on. I'm sure that Yakumo will be against it because he's a traditionalist and he just wants Rakugo to die. Like he's really upset and grumpy all the time now, but we'll see. I'm really liking where it's going. Episode 4 was definitely my favorite episode of the season so far. So I'm really excited for what's going to come next.
Oh man.
So yeah, Saturday, and here we've skipped a lot of stuff. We drop a lot of stuff on Saturday, like Spirit Pact and Rewrite, or just drops at this point for me. Sangatsu no Lion is like a binge watch, so I'm not watching that. So let's get into the great Interviews with Monster Girls debate.
Yeah, especially almost predominantly episode 3. You basically have lots of problems with this episode.
I do.
But I think I can justify most of these scenes. But you present your case, and then I will present my defense for it. How about that?
All right. So we're going to close out the show with this debate, so it may go on for a little bit. So here we go. Episode 3 of Interviews with Monster Girls ruins everything.
No, it doesn't.
So, in episode 1, we had this sort of cute interview in between Hikari and Tetsuo, where he asks her some questions about what it's like to be a vampire, and he asks her a couple of like sort of inappropriate like sexual questions in between, because he seems to have like a very strong interest in this for some reason about like.
Well, vampires have a very sexual background.
Yeah, like he may just come down to like him like misunderstanding like how like vampires because of pop culture representations of what vampires are. Like vampires are always seen as very sexual, like sucking your blood and all this stuff. And so anyway, he's like interested in this topic.
I mean, have you seen that one with the glittery vampires?
Oh, do you mean Twilight or do you mean Nightfall?
Yeah, that's that's very sexually charged. If you
Or like True Blood on HBO is very sexual. Like all vampire stories dating back forever have a sexual bent to them. So it makes sense, but it's weird. It was weird to me that he was asking a young middle school girl about it. But I guess it's the only vampire he has access to. So I guess that's why he's asking.
Okay, that was episode 1. So tell me your problems with episode 3 of why this conversation.
So episode 3 continues on. Like, so I was okay in episode 1 if it was like just the throwaway thing. And like, so she pretended to bite him in episode 1, which because of their previous conversation would have been seen as a sexual act. Like if she had actually bitten into his neck, I would have been like, oh, that's not okay. Because they just talked about how that's like a sexual thing to do.
But it was funny because she used the pencil.
Yeah, she actually used like 2 little pencils or pens to like prick him and pretend like she was biting him. In episode 3, he brings up this topic again. He's like, I really want to know more about like what vampires think about like sucking blood as compared to kissing or as compared to sex. And she gets really embarrassed.
He does not bring this up. I scrutinized this scene.
But okay, he may not initially bring it up, but he continues the line of conversation. He says something.
Yes, and I took actual quotes, but start with you have a problem with her being between his legs.
Okay, so yeah, the way this scene opens is that Tetsuo is sitting in his office, and out of nowhere, Hikari just pops up, and she pops up like right in between his legs. So he's sitting.
No, she's standing in the doorway. She's like, "Sensei, can I come in and cool off?" And he's like,
"Okay, yeah."
He's like, whatever. He's writing his essay.
Yes, and then a second later, she pops up between his legs.
Yeah, but you made it sound like she'd been there for a while.
Okay, that's true. I guess that's not. That was a.
Yeah, but we know Hikari what kind of character he is. So yeah, she snuck under his chair and popped up there. I mean, it's in her character.
And then there's
if it had been any of the other characters,
it would have been weird. Yeah,
it would have been super weird.
But there's like there's immediately a shot of her next where it's a top-down shot of Sensei like sitting in front of his computer at his desk, and she's like in between his legs with her butt pressed up right against his crotch, basically.
No.
Yep. It totally is. It's exactly what it's showing.
You have your picture. Her butt is not pressed up.
She's like a little bit off to the left, but her butt is still pressed up against his leg at the very least.
When she first pops up, he pushes back from her because he's like, oh, Jesus Christ, you scared the crap out of me. But just from the angle of this, it may look like it, but we know there's space there because he backed up.
Fine. I still thought that one specific image was like a little bit like hinting.
The scene's a little rough. It can be slightly suggestive. I will give you that. But
and so he starts going into asking her more questions about vampires because he's been writing this essay on vampires. And
all right, this is where I have my quotes.
Yeah.
Okay. When she's in between his legs, unfortunately. She's reading his report he's working on, and she says blood-sucking and romance, that's what he's working on. Mm-hmm. He lists the topics he's covering about the vampires, and that was just the one of them that was in there. He sees her discomfort, and he says, I quote, "Oh, sorry, I guess I shouldn't have said that. It might be embarrassing." She goes, right. Nah, not at all. In fact, I can't say enough about it.
Yeah, but she has she says that in like a way that you can tell that she is still really embarrassed. But she's trying to appear like she's mature and adult.
Yeah. So, what's his name? Tetsuo Sensei. He goes, really? Since you offered, I'll ask. He conducts the interview in a very professional manner, and when he notices her discomfort, he immediately tries to fix the situation. He should have noticed it earlier, yes, but he did finally notice it, and when he did, he did his best to fix the situation.
But he does ask her, this is also a direct quote, like, about biting somebody's neck and like sucking their blood. Is it more than a kiss but less than sex? Like, so he's asking this little middle school girl if it's like sex, and like she doesn't have any experience with this. Like, it's totally inappropriate.
Even though she said I can't say enough about it. He shouldn't have asked the middle schooler that. But
so
like I said, he noticed it. I think he handles the situation well and plays it off as she's, still too young for this topic is how he finishes off.
Yeah, but she kisses him on the cheek also.
Yeah, that scene, I can't really justify that.
It's like a playful thing. Like, she was just showing him.
The best I can do is she's clearly panicking right now.
Yeah.
And her middle school mind somehow sees that as an out.
Yeah, and the way that he reacts to it is interesting because he just like is kind of stunned and just sits there like staring at her, and then he eventually smiles, but it's like a smile that is saying like, oh wow, she's like too young for this, like she misunderstood what I was talking about. And
that's where the part says when it says he handles the situation well. He doesn't get on her about it. He doesn't say that's what you should have done, which would have been a total pervert thing, but he just like you said now, plays it off as like, she doesn't really quite get it. So he's like, I'm going to let this one slip for now.
And then the rest of the episode, I had a couple of like minor issues with too, because it's basically focused on Machi, who's the Dullahan, having a conversation with the succubus teacher about Tetsuo and how she has a crush on him. And she's saying things like, I'm worried that I'm like too childish for Tetsuo. I want to be more mature around him. And so she's like asking the succubus to like give her romance advice. And like the succubus, who's a teacher, is like, no, yeah, I totally understand. Like, you should go after him. Like,
yeah, Sakie Sato.
Yeah, Sakie.
That's her name, yeah.
And like she admits that like she has no like real experience with men because like whenever she's gotten close to them, like they've been insatiably like desiring her. And so
but Machi thinks she totally has, and she's like, no. Sorry.
So it's kind of
the
cute.
Problem with this,
it's kind of cute, except it's like this is developing into everybody just loves the teacher kind of thing.
And Sakie is she has so many hormones running through her right now. I don't think she can think straight.
Yeah,
that's kind of how her character comes off to me. But yeah, as a teacher, she should have done that situation totally differently.
Yeah, so
like I said,
that's why I was upset with this episode. It's just like I think the teachers are being
hormones were
distracting
her from it, and she shouldn't encourage a student to go after a teacher. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah. It's just, I wish it wasn't going like this far with like the everybody loves sensei stuff.
Yeah, and they still play it off as like really cutesy and stuff, and I'm kind of fine with that. And I take it that, I mean, I know as a guy, you had the one hot female teacher, all the guys liked her.
Yeah.
So I see the same thing. If he's the hot male teacher, all the girls like him.
That's true.
So I get that it's believable for me.
It is believable. Like, yeah, I mean, girls have crushes on their teachers for sure, just like guys have crushes on their teachers. It's just, I don't know. It's just like the little girl falling in love with the older man has been such an old trope in anime that I'm really like annoyed by it every time I see it. And I thought that this show was generally written really well and really funny and really cute, kind of up until this point. And now that it's starting to get into that territory is where I started to drop off. But episode 4 was much better for the most part. I was
going to ask, did episode 4 fix it for you?
Not entirely, but the first half of episode 4 kind of did. So it starts off with basically Sakie and Tetsuo having a conversation because the snow girl, Kusakabe, had come to he had been in the hallway crying at the end of episode 3. And Tetsuo had like talked to her, and like she had basically been being bullied by these two girls who felt that she was arrogant because she wouldn't give other people like the time of day, like who had asked her to go do something. But the reason was because she like was a snow girl and like couldn't go do things with them because she had to go home and stuff. And it wasn't because she was arrogant at all. It's because like she doesn't really know how to talk to people. And so
she doesn't really know how to socialize, this kind of thing.
And so these two girls are bullying her, and so the two teachers talk about it, and they're like, yeah, I wish that the bullying would just stop. Like, they don't really have a solution for it. They're just like, yeah, the bullying, these girls should just learn to be more mature. But they don't come up with any like solution to this problem. So,
but they're being eavesdropped on.
Yeah, Hikari hears about it. So Hikari knows exactly how to handle this problem because she's like a superhero.
That bathroom scene is pretty good. Really.
It's really good. So she goes into the bathroom where these two girls are still gossiping about something, and she basically just confronts them and says like, hey, like, you're being really mean. Like, it's okay if you talk about me behind my back. I understand, but like, you need to understand that like, with the things you say hurt other people. And you need to like accept that. And why can't you just be nice to us? Like, we want to be nice to you, we want to be friends with you, but you're making it like impossible.
Yeah, and I initially thought when the scene started, I'm like, how is she going to convince them? But her dialogue and what she said, I thought was really good.
And then Kusakabe comes in, and she
had a bunch of good points, and like the bullies are actually listening and taking and considering what she said rather than just being told dicks about it, I guess.
Yeah, and Kusakabe comes in and she like apologizes because she knows like she was distant with them, and she says, I'm sorry, like it won't happen again. Like, and they're like, oh God, no, you shouldn't be apologizing to us. We should be apologizing to you.
And I'm pretty sure all three of them are now friends.
Yeah, basically. So that was really nicely done. It was really nice to see how Hikari like handled that situation, and how Kusakabe like didn't get mad about it, and she just stayed herself, and like now things are going to be okay. I mean, I like the show for this stuff, like these differences between monster girls and like normal human girls, and like how they kind of manage it, and like that stuff is really
and I mean
great.
they almost guilt tripped the bullies into being a better person, but that's all right in my book. That's exactly what they needed. I mean, they needed to feel guilty for what they did. So,
and then basically everybody comes back and like reports on what happened to like the teachers, and so it's like the teacher and all the girls are finally together for like the first time, and like they're all like really happy because like Kusakabe like overcame her fears and like overcame her bullies. And then I forget who starts it. I think it's Hikari, who's like
Hikari, because
of course Hikari did.
Yeah, because Yuki, the snow woman, she saw Yuki getting a hug from Tetsuo when she was crying upstairs, which at that time was totally appropriate. That's what she needed, some comfort. She needed something.
Yeah, because she was like breaking down and crying. Yeah.
Yeah. So Hikari's like, I want a hug, and she like runs up and just hugs the Tetsuo
Takahashi-sensei, yeah.
And he's just like, what the hell?
And then everybody wants a hug from Sensei now.
Yeah, like even Sakie, the teacher.
Yeah, she's like the last one. She's like, she takes off her like glasses in like a really sexy way, and she's like, I'm coming in for a hug. And then he's like, no, I don't think that's a good idea.
She's like, oh, okay.
I liked that part of it. Yeah.
And then Hikari's like, well, to be fair, you have to give Machi a hug too. Or something like that. So
So first he hugs her head and
gives her head, and I'm like, all right, I guess we're still PG. This is cool, whatever. And then they get on the subject. They're like, well, you have to give her body a hug.
And Machi's body is rocking like a huge rack. So when he goes to hug her, like
her body has what is it? Developed very well.
Yes. Yeah. For her age, I guess dual hands develop faster.
Yeah, so they hug her, and then they do this like heat image scene where you can see her boobs, and you see him press up against him, and then he's immediately like, oh shit, no, this is wrong.
Yeah, he backs off.
And then they walk out of the room, and her body's still standing there, and then the fire shoots out, and it does that noise. It's like,
yeah, the visual gags in this are great. It's like, I just wish it wasn't like so like harem-y kind of but it was also like a sweet scene at the same time. Like, I see both sides of it, but
yeah, it was a sweet scene. The sexual undertones, yes, they could definitely do without. If they did without the sexual undertones, I can't say how perfect this anime would almost be.
And then this episode ends basically with Hikari's sister finding out that like, or like seeing that like Hikari has like become close with this teacher, and like she kind of like finds him on the way home and like talks to him about it.
Oh yeah, she's super super suspicious about him.
She's very suspicious, and then like she finds he gets a text from Hikari that's like, I hugged my teacher today. And then
no, it was like really
that,
misleading. Yeah. It was really misleading.
Yeah.
Like it was worse than that. It sounded way worse.
It was
than
like,
that.
hurry home, like I need you because like my teacher like forced me to hug him today or something like that.
Yeah, it's something like that.
And so like little did she know she was walking with the teacher right then, and she like immediately turns at him and thinks that he's like a pedophile, which I thought was kind of funny that like he got called out for hugging these little girls because it is kind of inappropriate. But
yeah, but then she rushes home and then
yeah.
Hikari like jumps up and she's totally fine. She's like, "What? Why are you fine?" And then they just do a cut where you're led to understand that Hikari explained, and then Mari's like, "Really? You should have told me."
Yeah. So now she's kind of back on the teacher's side a little bit, but
yeah,
I don't know. Not much else happened in that episode. There was this one montage when they were talking about each girl, and like it was like a nice touching montage. But there's one frame of it where Kusakabe was in like the bath, taking a bath, and the water was like bright pink colored, and it might have just been because of like the environmental lighting of the tile in the room. But I had like a headcanon that like when she's taking a bath, she must put like antifreeze in there or something, because like otherwise like she's taking a bath and like if her ice stuff starts seeping out of her, like it'll just turn into an ice cube.
Antifreeze is green.
Well, okay, maybe it's
unless you're colorblind.
Hey, I don't know.
Well, that would explain why you thought pink.
I just figured she must put something in there, like, I don't know, to keep it from freezing over.
Wait, they haven't... Yeah, to keep it from freezing over, I was thinking maybe she had a problem with heat, but no, they haven't said that. That's just with Hikari.
Yeah. So, in the end, I think this show continues to be fairly cute and fairly good, but I'm just really suspicious about its like motivations and where it's going.
It could do without the sexual undertones, right?
Yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. All right. So not last week, but 2 weeks ago, because we do this bi-weekly, we gave basically our top 5 or top 4 of what we thought we were probably recommending shows to watch. Has yours changed at all from last week?
Looking at the list, no. Well, besides the reservations about interviews with monster girls, I'm still recommending Scum's Wish, Little Witch Academia, Nyanko Days, Rakugo, and KonoSuba all the way. All right.
I am adding one to mine, and that is Gabriel Dropout, because I just am enjoying that show so much.
Yeah, we talked about that in depth.
Yeah, so that makes my whole list. Gabriel Dropout, Interviews with Monster Girls, Little Witch Academia, Kobayashi-san, Chi no Maid Dragon, KonoSuba, which I accidentally skipped over, and then Saga of Tanya the Evil.
Yep.
And those would be mine. Do you have anything else you'd like to add, Bcom?
No, that's it. This episode went a little longer than I think we expected, but we had a lot to talk about. So
we originally wanted to do a 30 to 45 minute episode, and we are not even coming close. So, all right. Thanks for listening. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe to us on YouTube to get updates on new podcasts or videos. And follow us on Twitter at Nerdom and Other for updates as well.
Have a good week.
See you guys.